Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I have a trillion protagonist halo. Chapter 21. Buzz. The talented stone pillar trembles more intensely. The light covered above is 10 times more dazzling than before. If an ordinary person without cultivation martial Dao is in Fenghua Hall, it is no exaggeration to say that this stone pillar can flash him into a blind man. This is. Su Zan looked at the stone pillar ahead with some doubts. Under the golden light, a small crack appeared on the surface of the gray stone pillar. This crack spreads towards the extreme speed, 1 is divided into 2, 2 is divided into 4. The next moment. It is rumored that it was created by the founding ancestor himself, and is one of the most treasures of the Yuntian sword sect. Su Zan reacted quickly and swept back, watching with a little surprise that the talented stone pillar collapsed and fell into the pool. The talented stone pillar, destroyed. At this time, the crowd of elders still didn't react. The talented stone pillar can show even the talent of the divine body, how could it be ruined like this? Divine bodies also have strengths and weaknesses, and, have you not discovered that before Su Zan inspired the divine bodies, his talents had almost reached the pinnacle of the talented stone pillars? If you say so, isn't this talent too enchanting? Even the talented stone pillars are not capable of revealing it with a certain kind of vision, which exceeds the maximum limit that the talented stone pillars can test, causing the magic circle in it to be disordered, so it collapses. This kind of talent, I'm afraid it only exists in the legend. It took a few seconds before all the elders recovered from their shock. They sucked in air conditioning one by one, and looked at Su Zan's gazes, filled with weirdness. Miao Elder's eyes turned, revealing a kind smile, and he said, Su Zan, there are many difficulties on the road to cultivation. If there is a guide to guide you and solve various cultivation problems, your god body qualifications will definitely be better. Play hard, if you don't mind. Miao Elder is right, Lu Elder interrupted. If you are willing, I want to accept you as the only personal disciple. Lu Fan, you bastard dare to snatch my apprentice. Miao Elder suddenly became furious. The true essence of the original pill realm turned slightly, and the entire great hall heard a rumbling, thunderous sound. Miao Hai, I let you the genius last time. You have several disciples with good aptitudes. Are you still not satisfied? Lu Elder is also unwilling to show weakness, but also unleashes power. Okay, shut me up. The head Qin Jincheng waved his hand, and the power of the two disappeared instantly. Dignified Sword Gate Elder, scramble like a child, how decent he is. What the head teaches is. The two suddenly accepted their mistakes. But they were still staring at each other. At this moment, the head Qin Jincheng looked at Su Zan, with a gentle smile on his staid face. Su Zan, I am the head of the Yuntian swordsmen. I am the biggest here. I can give you what they give you. I'm okay if they can't do it, otherwise, you still consider accepting me as a teacher, ahem. You said it wrong, consider me as a teacher. As soon as these words came out, the 6 powerful elders looked at Qin Jincheng instantly. It turns out that we didn't fight for you to accept apprentices. Sure enough, the older you are, the more you don't wanting face. The big 6 elder lamented in his heart. The heads are all shot, they still have a fart opportunity. Chen Chengfeng stood aside, watching all this, hee in his heart. Daddy stayed with Su Zan for so long, but he had exhausted all his options. It's almost sensual, and he couldn't let him worship me as a teacher. Just rely on you. Think too much. Is it so easy to accept as an apprentice and it's your turn? At this time, Su Zan also spoke. Head, Elder, I don't think apprenticeship should be hasty. I don't have such an idea recently. If I want to apprenticeship someday, I will take the initiative to look for you. If this sentence is heard by other Yuntian Janman disciples, I am afraid that they will be shocked and speechless. The elder of the Yuan Dan realm, the leader wants to accept disciples, even if you refuse, you still say something that you want to apprentice and look for it again. It seems that these elders and the leader are always waiting. But those elders in Yuandan realm were not angry when they heard this sentence. Neither the great sun god body nor the talented stone pillar can express his enchanting talent. Su Zan has the qualifications to say. If that's the case, then I won't force it. Qin Jincheng nodded, and was not angry at Su Zan's attitude, just a little bit lost. Ask yourself, he is actually not qualified to be a master of the divine body. Suzan, although you have no intention of apprenticeship, you can enter my Yuntian sword gate with your talent, and deserve the best cultivation resources. As Qin Jincheng spoke, he took out a token from the storage ring. The real yuan between the fingers converged and flicked on the token. Of course, the rules of our Yuntian sword sect inheritance for thousands of years cannot be easily broken. You are in the Ning Yuan realm, or you can only become an inner disciple. However, with this token, in the future, the Yuntian sword sect will not only be private domains in a few places. Outside the forbidden area, you are not restricted. As soon as the voice fell, the token flew towards Suzan. Suzan took a look. His name is engraved on the front, and Qin Jincheng's signature is on the back. Is this an identity card? Suzan waited and tried to inject a trace of real energy. Suddenly, the token gleamed, an array of light stretched out from the token, connecting his eyebrows. He was shocked in his heart, and immediately discovered that this ray of light was just passing various information and rules of the Yuntian sword gate to him, and he calmed down. After a few seconds, the light disappeared, and he also had some explicit stipulations of the Yuntian sword gate in his mind, as well as maps of various places. This is your identity token. Within the scope of Yuntian sword gate, sect can also pass some information to you through this token, so you can put it on your body without having to put it in storage space. Good. Suzan nodded. In addition, your residence is on the 17th of Bayan Peak. You have absorbed the information in the token, should you know where it is. Bayan Peak is the strongest mountain in the entire Yuntian Zhanmen spiritual qi. The entire mountain is itself a super gathering spiritual qi array. Every 3 months, the spiritual qi array will be launched once, and spiritual qi will flood Bayan Peak like rain. That is a place where only true disciples can live. With these messages in his mind, Suzan smiled slightly, and said, I know, if there is nothing else to do with the head, the disciple will retire first. Go. I look forward to the day when you grow into a peerless power in the future. Qin Jincheng smiled. This child can enter my Yuntian sword gate, great fortune. When Suzan left, he smiled and sighed. Several other elders were equally embarrassed. After a sigh, everyone's eyes gathered in the pool again. Miao Elder sighed, a talented stone pillar. It has been standing for 1,000 years, but it was ruined. Lu Elder also had some feelings. Although it is ruined, it is worth witnessing the birth of a peerless arrogant. Qin Jincheng frowned and said, Suzan is a divine body, so let him show his divine body talent. Why do you insist on bringing him to Fenghua Hall? Well, I have to ask Brother Chen, isn't he insisting on calling us to let us ignorant guys see the genius he brought back? The eyes focused on Chen Chengfeng. Chen Chengfeng hurriedly said, I can't be blamed for this. Besides, don't you also believe it? Moreover, I also want to see Suzan's strongest talent. Quote. Then you just let him get rid of the stone pillars of our 1,000-year-old talent. Qin Jincheng displeased. This. Chen Chengfeng's mouth twitched and his face was depressed. Who could have thought that Suzan's talent was so abnormal? Leaving Fenghua Hall, Suzan did not go directly to Bayan Peak, but walked towards the library of Yuntian Sword Gate. He is in urgent need of cultivation technique and martial arts of the mysterious rank level now. This matter is the most important thing. According to the information passed by the token, an hour later, he came to the library. The library of Yuntian Zhanmen is very huge, divided into 3 floors. Corresponding to the common rank level cultivation technique martial arts, the Zhan rank cultivation technique martial arts, and the ground rank cultivation technique martial arts. Of course, there are not many tiers in the library, and they are basically inferior. After all, even the Yuandan realm practitioner, cultivating tier martial arts, is quite difficult. At the gate of the library, people come and go from time to time. I caught a glimpse of Suzan standing there, and at a glance I saw that he was a freshman who was just getting started. It was estimated that he was shocked by the magnificence of library. They all smiled at him. Most of them are friendly, and some of them contain contempt, disdain. Suzan didn't care either. The fantasy world is originally the weak are prey to the strong look down on the weak. These old students, naturally, will not really put him in one's eyes as a new beginner disciple. Entering the library, Suzan walked directly to the 2nd floor. Rows of bookshelves are neatly arranged. Cultivation technique. sword technique, cultivation technique, movement technique, pill refining cheats, cultivation cheats, and even all kinds of strange stories in martial Dao cultivation world. Chaoyuan Gong, the lower grade of the profound stage. Cultivation of this cultivation technique can make the breath longer, and the true energy can recover faster. Fire Spirit Art, the middle rank of the profound stage. After cultivation, the true essence can be transformed into the fire attribute, and the true essence is violent and powerful. A door cultivation technique was quickly browsed by him. In the end, he chose a high-grade cultivation technique of the profound stage, Yongyan Zhen Jing. After this cultivation technique, cultivation reaches the great perfection. The true essence can be transformed into an overwhelming sun flame, with infinite power. Moreover, the Yangan Junjing fits well with his great sun divine body, and cultivation is more effective than ever. It's just that the high-grade cultivation technique of the profound stage is still too high for the Ning Yuan realm practitioner. Even with the cultivation aura, it may take a while to get started and convert the true essence of Han Yu Gong. Su Zan thought in his heart, and walked towards the bookshelf of martial arts. The most martial arts in the library is sword technique, which is about 3 or 4 times the number of any other martial arts. After all, Yun Tian's sword sect was originally a master of kendo. Da Sun divine body, Yongyan Zhen Jing, it is best to have another sword technique with masculine attributes, so I should be able to exert greater power. Su Zan's eyes swept over those sword techniques one by one. Finally selected a high-grade sword technique of the profound stage, flowing fire sword technique. It is a very explosive sword technique. Then came the palm technique, fist technique, and movement technique. Anyway, there is a special identity token given by Qin Jincheng. Choose cultivation technique. The number of martial arts is not limited at all, just come with a complete set. Take it back and slowly cultivate. It took more than half an hour before Su Zan chose cultivation technique martial arts and came to the registration office. Yangan Junjing, flowing fire sword technique, floating light and glimpse. The soldier master deacon who was in charge of registration was stunned and looked at Su Zan. Don't you know that you can only choose one martial arts at a time? You can choose the next cultivation only when the cultivation reaches at least a minor level. Quote. Su Zan nodded, and just about to explain, Deacon's face suddenly changed slightly. Wait. You are very face to face. Are you a new beginner disciple? Take out your identity token. Good. Su Zan had originally planned to take out the identity token, but now it happened to be handed over to Deacon. Why is your identity token so? This is. Deacon glanced at the word, Su Zan, on the token. It was a bit strange. When he turned it over, he was shocked when he saw the name painted by Qin Jincheng himself. After injecting a little real yuan into the token, he felt that the power of Qin Jincheng really belonged to him, and his expression changed. Holding the token in both hands, respectfully handed it back to Su Zan. Unexpectedly, Junior Brother actually has a special identity token portrayed by the leader himself. As far as I know, the entire Yun Tian Sword Gate has this honor, plus you, Junior Brother, there are only 3 people. Junior Brother, you can choose any cultivation in the future. Technique martial skill, just let me record it when I go out. Thank you brother. Su Zan smiled slightly and took the token. In Yun Tian Janmen, if you reach the master state before the age of 30, you can become a true disciple, and those who break through after the age of 30 become deacon. Although the cultivation base is the same, the status of the two is vastly different. It is precisely because of this that the deacon of the main soldier realm treats him so respectfully to a small Ning Yuan realm. Put those cultivation technique cheats into the storage ring, and Su Zan walked out of the library. Walking on a mountain path not far from Bayan Peak, several practitioners who were also in the Ning Yuan realm stopped him. So face to face, you look like a freshman who just selected cultivation technique martial arts from the library. The man in the lead asked. Yes, what's the matter? Su Zan's eyes swept across several people, seeing through their strengths. Except for the questioning man who reached the middle stage of the Ning Yuan realm, the others were all in the early stage cultivation base of the Ning Yuan realm. Freshman, this junior, I don't know how to call it. My name is Su Zan. The man laughed and said, Junior Brother Su, I'm Zhao Li. I have been in inner sect for 4 years. You can call me Brother Zhao. I have a habit of protecting the juniors who have just started. Bully. Suzan looked at Zhao Li in surprise. Is this man a fool? Seeing Suzan's doubts, Zhao Li continued. Of course, this protection, it also has to charge a small fee, junior brother understand. It turned out to be collecting protection fees from myself. Suzan understood what Zhao Li meant, and shook his head. I advise you to get rid of this habit. Listen to you, are you not giving it? Zhao Li's expression changed, and his tone became unceremonious. The other 4 inner disciples also turned towards Suzan with unkind expressions. Boy, don't think you have a bit of status outside, you can be arrogant in inner sect. Yuntian Janman is the #1 sect in the Xia country. Since you are a new beginner, please follow our rules honestly. I've seen a lot of thorns like you, today I will let the little master. Snapped. Before the inner disciple of the Ningyuan realm early stage was finished, he was slapped and slapped by Suzan. He fell more than 10 meters away, and opened his mouth to spit out a few bloody teeth. Do you dare to attack? Give me a lesson. If you don't teach him a lesson today, he thought inner sect was his home. Zhao Li furiously said. Suddenly, those people were all running true essence one by one, and they attacked Suzan. I hit him. I was also hit. This punch will definitely hurt him seriously. Wait, why is he all right? The 3 Ningyuan realm practitioners showed horror in their eyes, watching Suzan, who hadn't moved even the hem of his clothes. As a golden light appeared on his body, his mind couldn't turn his head. These people can't even break the outermost defense of Vajra art. Suzan was also a little speechless, looking at the inner disciple that was already in a daze. If I hadn't seen you take action, I wouldn't have felt that someone was hitting me. You have this kind of strength, and you still collect protection fees. After speaking, Suzan's true essence erupted and directly shook the 3 people out. Without moving their hands, the 4 inner disciples of the Ningyuan realm had already fallen to the ground, watching Suzan in shock, not daring to step forward. Next, it's you. Suzan looked at Zhao Li. Zhao Li was also very dazed at this time. Isn't it a freshman? Why did you take On's 4 little brothers into the air in the blink of an eye? This FCK, is there such a fierce freshman? Zhao Li squeezed a smile. Misunderstanding. Are you not going to charge me protection money? No, no more. Junior brother, please leave. Zhao Li said with a smile. If you don't accept it, I will accept it. Suzan smiled. You blocked the way to collect protection fees, which caused me to spend a lot of time and energy. It's better to give me all your storage rings. Hearing this, Zhao Li's expression changed. Junior brother, are you telling a joke? Do you think I am joking? As soon as the voice fell, Suzan smiled, and Tianan's sword intent came, covering Zhao Li in front of him. Give it. I give it. Feeling that the horrible sword intent might kill himself at any time, Zhao Li's legs were so frightened that he hurriedly shouted. Next, under his leadership, a total of 5 storage rings were handed over to Suzan. You are not good people, and the contents in it are probably ill-gotten wealth. In that case, I will use it to help those in need. Do you have any opinions? Putting 5 storage rings in his pocket, Suzan glanced at the people and asked. No, brother, just take it away. What the brother taught is, today I also want to thank my brother for letting us know how to get lost. Several Ningyuan realm practitioners smiled more ugly than crying. Ah, that's good. Suzan nodded, showing a slight smile, and continued to walk towards Bayan Peak. When Suzan walked away, Zhao Li and other talents breathed a sigh of relief. Horrible, terrible. This person's cultivation base seems to have only the middle stage of the Ningyuan realm, but the true essence power is probably much stronger than the late stage of the Ningyuan realm. The true essence strength is still second. His defensive cultivation technique has already been cultivated to a point higher than the peak. I hit it with one palm, but it didn't break his defense. Seeing those people look scared, Zhao Li's face was gloomy, a bunch of rubbish. Spirit stones didn't receive it, but instead they paid the old man in. Brother Zhao, don't you know senior brother Luanjian, the first inner sect? Would you like to ask him to do it? A Ningyuan realm practitioner said cautiously. You still need to talk about this. Zhao Li hummed coldly. I was humiliated by a freshman today. This incident spread. How will Zhao Li get involved in inner sect from now on? Quickly follow this person and find out where he lives. I will ask senior brother Luanjian to help. We want to get things back and give this person a severe lesson." Hearing that, the 4 inner disciples of Ningyuan realm all showed joy. If Luanjian went out, then Suzan would definitely return their things back. They can also take this opportunity to be ashamed. An hour later, Suzan came to Bayan Peak. Bayanfeng has set up formation restrictions, except for the real disciples and the maidservants who are responsible for the daily life of the real disciples. No one else can enter. Of course, Suzan is an exception. Leaning the token in his hand to the invisible formation barrier, the barrier suddenly opened an entrance. Stepping into it, Suzan began to climb Bayan Peak. Bayan Peak was off the beaten track. Until the 17th immortal cave, Suzan didn't see anyone. This is also normal. In fact, the huge Bayan Peak has only more than 20 true disciples living in it, and with the entourage of those people, there will be no more than 200 people. The 17th immortal cave is quite huge. There are medicine fields, ponds, gardens, and even a small mountain with a height of 100 meters close to the backyard. After Suzan strolled around and sighed that he was a big family, he started his cultivation. It's still half a month before the next Bayanfeng Spirit Gathering Array opens. With the help of the Spirit Gathering Array, I should be able to break through to the late stage of the Ningyuan realm. During this time, I will be majoring in martial arts. After that, we will put it aside for the time being. Anyway, relying on the cultivation of the Spirit Gathering Array will be very fast. After some calculations, Suzan officially started cultivation. The Yangan Junjing cultivation technique works, and the heaven and earth spiritual chi swarms. At the same time, the sun hanging high in the sky also released a domineering force into his body. That is the power of the great sun drawn by the great sun divine body. Contemper the divine body, make the true essence more condensed. Yuntian Janman Inner Sect. A lakeside, Luanjian, the first inner sect with the title of Half-True Story, had a gloomy face, and his eyes fell on Zhao Li, who was talking constantly in front of him. Enter Bayan Peak. It's true, Zhao Li quickly said. Junior brother, I have seen it with my own eyes. And he is indeed only the cultivation base of the Ningyuan realm. Besides, the disciple of the true biography of Bai Yunfeng has announced to everyone, can I still admit his mistake if he is a true biography disciple? Ningyuan realm, inner disciple actually stayed at Bayan Peak. Inner disciples stay at Bayan Peak is a precedent, but they are all extremely outstanding talents in inner sect, such as senior brother Luanjian. Zhao Li showed a look of embarrassment for Luanjian. What qualifications does Suzan have to live in Bayan Peak? You should be the senior fellow who should stay in. In terms of strength, Luanjian is the number 1 in inner sect, and in terms of talent, I am also number 1 in inner sect. A new inner disciple is actually more valued by sect than me. What is the reason? Luanjian was a little angry. Zhao Li said, Brother Luanjian, maybe Elder was confused for a while. As long as you defeat that Suzan, it won't prove that you are better than him. By then, you must be the senior fellow who will live in Bayan Peak. Bayanfeng. Luanjian took a deep breath and said gloomily, I'll help you with this matter, but I can't get in Bayan Peak. You send someone to watch day and night. When he leaves Bayan Peak, I will openly invite him to fight. Thank you brother. This time the brother will surely become famous in one battle and regain the position of Bayan Peak that belongs to the brother. Zhao Li was overjoyed and bowed. Let's go, don't disturb my cultivation, that Suzan is no different from the ants to me, I still need to ascension cultivation base as soon as possible, and strive for an early breakthrough in the battlefield. Yes, brother. Half a month later, Bayan Peak. Thousands of inner disciples surrounded Bayan Peak, all looking excited. There are also some outer sect disciples who have entered inner sect and also came to the vicinity of Bayan Peak. Today is the day when the Great Spirit Gathering Array opens. At that time, the heaven and earth spiritual chi will turn into raindrops and fall, and the 23 true legends on Bayan Peak will absorb the rain with their talents. The more talented people are, the more spiritual rain will be absorbed. On the surface, this is just a cultivation, but in reality it is also a struggle between true disciples. Even, for this reason, inner sect opened a lot of betting on spirit stones. This time the spirit rain battle must be my senior brother Qi Yang first. What, your brother Qi Yang? Is that mine? Brother Qi Yang is feminine. I still like the masculinity of senior brother Wang Hao. Senior brother Wang Hao will win. ... A female disciple of inner sect was arguing in various pavilions and tea houses under Bayan Peak. Not only these disciples, but even an elder, came to the vicinity of Bayan Peak to appreciate the struggle for spiritual reign once every 3 months. On this day, Suzan walked out of the closed-door training room and came to the open front yard, ready to accept the baptism of spirit reign. In half a month, he had already learned the Yongyan Junjing. The true essence is transformed into the Yangan true essence, which is much more domineering than the cold jade true essence before. Click on the Properties panel. Host, Suzan. Age, 16. Realm, Ning Yuan Jing Middle Stage. Cultivation Technique, Yongyan Zhen Jing Introduction. Martial Arts, Flowing Fire Sword Technique, Xiaocheng Floating Light Glimpse, Xiaocheng Yanbangquan, Xiaocheng Open Mountain Palm, Xiaocheng Tianan Sword Technique, Mountain Peak, Wind Step, Mountain Peak, Vajraju, Mountain Peak, Broken Jade Finger, to the top. In just half a month, fan level Han Yugong was replaced with Yangan Junjing, and the 4 high-rank martial arts of the 4 mysterious levels were also cultivated to the point of being small. A smile appeared on Suzan's face. The cultivation difficulty of Xuanji's martial arts is 10 times more difficult than that of Fanji. He can reach this level in a short time, and he is very satisfied. He possesses the movement technique for short-distance fast dodge movement like the floating light and glancing shadow, the fist technique and the palm technique that tends to erupt like the palm of the fire fist, as well as his most powerful sword technique. Now his strength is ascension as before. Big cut, just wait for the great gathering of spirits to start. With the help of the power of the rain, break through to the late stage and even the peak of the Ning Yuan realm in one fell swoop. At that time, you can prepare to make a breakthrough in the main realm of soldiers. The host state of soldiers, condensing the weapons of life, not only greatly increases their own strength, but at the same time, with the help of the power of the weapons of life, you can burst out extremely powerful attacks. Practitioners of this level are considered to be strong in all parts of Sha Kingdom. One side strong. Suzan shook his head when the figure of the old man in the main realm of Tiankezong soldier who was smashed by his own sword flashed in his mind. After all, the previous Suzan was only a practitioner in a small place. Perhaps he lacked knowledge of a practitioner of this level. At least, in his opinion, the practitioner was definitely not a strong one. It seems that in the future, I will also have to look at various materials related to this aspect, and the memory inherited in my mind may not be accurate. Thinking of this in his heart, Suzan sat down in the front yard, slowly calming his mind, waiting for the rain to fall. Now, on the Bayan Peak, 23 true disciples are also ready to take over the spiritual reign. Everyone, you was only close to entering the middle stage of the soldier's main realm, and I hope that you will let you at this time, and I will definitely come to thank you in the future. A loud voice rang from Bayan Peak, which contained powerful true essence, which made this voice spread throughout Bayan Peak, and even many people heard it from above and below. Is Yu Tian in Immortal Cave on the 24th? He has not been a true disciple for less than a year, but is he going to break through realm again? In 1 year, from the early stage cultivation to the middle stage of the main soldier realm, it's amazing. Nonsense. You think they are the same as you. On Bayan Peak, all of them are exceptionally talented. There was a lot of discussion under Bai Yunfeng. At this moment, several more voices rang from Bayan Peak. Yu Tian, if you are willing to divide the Millennium Ginseng given to you by Elder into half, I am willing to absorb some less spiritual rain while waiting, so that you have a greater chance of reaching the middle stage. Yes, if you want us to let you, then take advantage of it. Otherwise you call me Dad, and Dad loves my son, that's a matter of course, I will naturally let you, hee. Yu Tiangong was ready to respond, and suddenly saw a Taoist shadow appearing above an immortal cave not far away, and immediately held back his words. That Taoist shadow is condensed by a function of immortal cave formation, it is not very clear, but the moment when this Taoist shadow appeared, the faces of those who laughed at Yu Tian on Bayan Peak changed slightly, and closed. Mouth. The first true disciple, Qi Yang. The road to martial Tao was originally a road full of thorns. You don't want ascension yourself, but you want others to let you, with such aspirations, also deserve to live in Bayanfeng. What Brother Qi taught. Yu Tian said quickly, obviously afraid of Qi Yang. Okay, stop talking, wait for Ling Yu. Qi Yang's shadow disappeared. Bayan Peak fell silent, but not too much. Another voice sounded. Senior Qi Yang, this is Wang Hao. You were right. If you want it, you have to fight for it yourself. I don't know, senior brother Qi Yang, how much spiritual reign are you going to fight for? How many spiritual reigns do I plan to compete for? What does it have to do with you? Qi Yang's words were cold. Wang Hao smiled. The spirit gathering array will drop at most 30,000 drops of spiritual rain each time it is activated. I plan to absorb 20,000. Brother, how about you and you all share the remaining 10,000? As soon as this remark came out, it immediately caused an uproar outside Bayan Peak. Brother Wang Hao is going to challenge senior brother Qi Yang. Although Wang Hao and Qi Yang have the same strength in cultivation base, after all, Qi Yang is the sacred body of the White Flood, which is rare in a century. How can Wang Hao win over Qi Yang? I'm also very curious. In the past, brother Qi Yang was the first in the spirit and rain competition, and brother Wang Hao was the second. Today, brother Wang Hao actually said such arrogant words in public. Where is his confidence? Look at it, the spirit gathering array has been launched. ... Voices sounded one after another. At the top of Bayan Peak, a trace of heaven and earth spiritual qi gathers, compresses, and condenses. In the end, it turned into a raindrop. Wang Hao, don't you want to know how many spirit rain I plan to fight for? Qi Yang's arrogant voice sounded. This time I will take 80% of the spirit rain conference. You only need to divide 20%. As soon as the voice fell, he was already running the cultivation technique, drawing the rain that dripped first to absorb it. Then wait and see. Wang Hao smiled, and also began to pull Ling Yu. On Bayan Peak, all the people concentrate on running the cultivation technique, drawing as much spiritual rain as possible. On a small mountain not far from Bayan Peak, Chen Chengfeng and the more leisurely elder also sat around the long table, watching the rain fall. Wang Hao is too arrogant. Young man, it's normal to be a little arrogant, besides, he also has the capital to be arrogant. Wang Hao, Qi Yang, Wei, Yuntian Zhanmen, two of the best geniuses in these decades, who do you think will be the ultimate winner of this spirit rain competition? That means it must be Qi Yang. I can't say it well. Wang Hao dared to say something like that. Maybe he got some kind of adventure, and his talent is ascension again. What's the use of ascension? Wang Hao is the sacred body of the Beijiao. Look at it, he has inspired the sacred body. ... Just as several elders were talking, a white flood phantom appeared above the immortal cave on the number 1 Bayan Peak, with a big mouth, greedily swallowing spiritual rain. Almost at the moment when the phantom of the white dragon appeared, thunder suddenly burst above the second immortal cave, and the rays of thunder and the gust of wind intertwined into a huge vortex, engulfing a large swath of spiritual rain. Fengele Eucharist. Unexpectedly, Wang Hao's violent thunder spirit body turned into Fengele Eucharist. No wonder Wang Hao dared to say such arrogant words. The two sacraments, this is really a bad idea. Brother Chen, you are our Yuntian Zhanmen elder. The strength is the strongest here. From your point of view, Wang Hao and Qi Yang, who can win the final victory? All elders' eyes focused on Chen Chengfeng. Chen Chengfeng glanced at the elders, showing a slight smile. You never thought that the person who won the first prize this time may not be Wang Hao or Qi Yang, but someone else. Someone else. On Bayan Peak, is there a genius stronger than Wang Hao and Qi Yang? Senior brother Chen is joking here again. Qi Yang and Wang Hao are both Eucharist. I dare say that among the younger generation of Sha Guo, their talents can be ranked in the top 5. Those elders shook their heads again and again. Fart, am I kidding? Chen Chengfeng glanced at those people displeased. Then brother Chen, tell me, who can win the first prize in this spirit rain competition? Suzan. Who is Suzan? The crowds of elder were puzzled. The matter of the talented stone pillars of Fenghua Palace has not been publicized, and these free elders who have no real power do not know about it. Suddenly hearing this name, they were all confused. Chen Chengfeng said, he is a new disciple who started half a month ago. Although he was only in the Ningyuan realm, he was assigned to the idol immortal cave on the 17th of Bayan Peak because of his outstanding talent. In this spirit rain competition, he will naturally also participate. I moved into Bayan Peak as soon as I started. Could it be another Eucharist? An elder said in surprise. Chen Chengfeng shook his head. Not the Eucharist. Not the Eucharist. How can this son compare with Qiyang and Wang Hao? Although special physique is not the only criterion for martial Dao's talent, it is definitely the most important part. If it is not for the Eucharist, even if Suzan is born with excellent talents, meridians are suitable for cultivation, and they cannot be compared with the Eucharist. Could it be that Suzan, who is Brother Chen's younger generation, makes you so confident in him? Hearing Chen Chengfeng's words, those elders looked at each other and guessed. I would rather have such an outstanding junior. Chen Chengfeng laughed. Looking at the elder who obviously didn't believe it at all, he moved in his heart and said, if you don't believe it, how about a bet? Bet. How to bet? It's very simple. If Wang Hao or Qiyang absorbs the most spiritual rain, then I will lose 100,000 spirit stones for each of you. Otherwise, each of you loses 100,000 for me. How? 100,000. Several elders showed hesitation on their faces. In this way, if you lose, you only need to give me 50,000 spirit stones. Chen Chengfeng glanced at them and continued. Well, I bet with Brother Chen. I'm coming too. Brother Chen is rich and gives money to us poor ghosts. Then we can't refuse, right? Ha ha. That's right, how can I live up to Brother Chen's good intentions? Every elder smiled and nodded. Chen Chengfeng looked at the elders, thinking about it in his heart. There are 8 elders in total. 5*8 equals 40. Should 400,000 spirit stones be used to buy pill refining medicine, or to make appointments with the female nuns of the next month country? Alas, it was a difficult choice. Chen Chengfeng smiled knowingly. On the Bayan Peak, Suzan raised his head and glanced at the Beijiao Phantom and Thunder and Lightning Vortex that were fighting for the spiritual rain. He also checked to see if there were 2 drops of spiritual rain dripping above his head. I was a little speechless. Unexpectedly, by such a coincidence, he happened to be in the middle of the 2 immortal caves, Wang Hao and Qiyang. As a result, the 2 of them competed, and the rain that fell into his immortal cave was looted for most of the time. The rain of the gathering of the spirit gathering at one time is limited, and the time will not last too long. It is time for me to stimulate my physique. With my current cultivation base, it should be enough to maintain the state of the divine body until the gathering of the spirits is over. With a murmur, Suzan directly aroused the great sun divine body. A little golden light emerged from his body, and a round of phantoms of the sun rose behind him. At the moment when the divine body was aroused, Ling Yu, who had been plundered by Wang Hao and Qiyang, suddenly turned in the air and fell towards him again. Those spiritual rains are very mysterious, ignoring the clothes, directly entering Suzan's body, turning into the power of true essence. This is just the beginning. As the great sun divine body was urged to the mechanism, that round of sun's rays solidified, and on Bayan Peak, the spiritual rain above the other true disciple immortal cave also flew towards Suzan. Finally, even the thunder and lightning vortex and the rain in Bai Jiao's mouth all turned around. What's the situation? It. The spiritual rain, which is so close to my head, just flew away like this. Is there something wrong with the gathering of spirits? How can this FCK be cultivated? The person on Bai Yunfeng shouted at the truth. Wang Hao got any chance, even my spiritual rain was robbed. Qiyang sat in the immortal cave, shocked in his heart. But at this time, Wang Hao and his performance were generally the same, thinking that Qiyang took away his spirit rain, and quickly tried his best to run cultivation technique, wanting to snatch it back. Under Bayan Peak, thousands of inner disciple looked dumbfounded. Did I have hallucinations? I actually saw 2 suns. I saw it too. God, look, those spiritual rains are all heading towards the immortal cave where the sun is floating. Even the spiritual rain of Brother Wang Hao and Senior Brother Qiyang was snatched away. Could it be said that this person is a peerless arrogant hidden on Bayan Peak? Shocked, doubtful voices sounded. Everyone is staring at that big day closely. On the mountain peaks, those elders are no exception. This is a divine body. When did the divine body appear on Bayan Peak? Spirit body, saint body, God body Tianzhao. Even if it is a first-class genius in the entire eastern wasteland domain, there is actually a god body in our Yuntian Sword Gate. Elder was shocked. An elder said. What are you arguing about? Don't you understand if you ask Brother Chen? Yes. Brother Chen is second only to the head of the door. What is it that Brother Chen doesn't know? Those elder looked at Chen Chengfeng curiously. Chen Chengfeng smiled. That person is Su Zan. What? Elder's face changed drastically. Senior Brother Chen, you could say that Su Zan is not a sacrament. Yes. Chen Chengfeng smiled and asked, is he the Eucharist? The elder was choked. Su Zan is indeed not the Eucharist. But it is a god body even more powerful than the Eucharist. In front of Su Zan, Wang Hao, Qiyang is a fart. Every elder felt that he was miserable by Chen Chengfeng, and his expression was depressed. 50,000 spirit stones, don't forget everyone. Chen Chengfeng smiled. Bayan Peak. After Su Zan completely aroused the divine body, those spiritual rains joined end to end and merged into rain lines, like Wanchuan returning to the sea, converging towards him. Those true disciples looked at the incomparably sparse drop above their heads, 2 drops of spiritual rain, and they were a little suspicious of life. What the hell is going on? Even if there is a problem with the formation, it should be healed now, right? This time Lingyu cultivation is scrapped. It's really unlucky. It seems that it is not that the spiritual rain has been reduced, but that those spiritual rains have just condensed and were absorbed by others. There was not much time left in the gathering of the spirits, and the true disciples finally couldn't sit still. Walking out of a mortal cave, seeing the big sun and the lines of spiritual rain, I immediately understood everything. Another Eucharist. This Eucharist is so terrifying that it has absorbed all our spiritual rain. Who is this person? What a bastard. I'm also preparing to break through the middle stage of the Taoist soldiers. This is a mess. It's not a human being. A famous disciple, complaining, doubting, and shocked, rushed towards the big day. Ache. In the front yard, Su Zan suddenly sneezed. Someone is jealous of my handsomeness. He sighed in his heart, absorbed all the last drop of spiritual rain, and his cultivation base had reached the peak of the Ningyuan realm. And, under the nourishment of spiritual rain, the physique is also strengthened. The spirit-gathering array dissipated, and Su Zan stretched his body, with a satisfied smile on his face. If you want to break through the main realm of soldiers, you must condense your original life force. Chen Elder promised that I can go to him when I reach the late stage of the condensed element realm. Perhaps the best materials, now is the time. Su Zan came to the door and opened the door. Seeing the scene ahead, he was stunned. I saw that all the 23 true biography on Bayan Peak stood outside the door. All of them looked gloomy, as if they were very aggrieved in their hearts. A mortal cave on the 17th, since the accidental death of senior brother Bayan, it has been vacant. Who are you and why are you here? Bayan Peak is unacceptable to the truth. How did you come up? You just caused the phantom of the great sun. As soon as the door opened, the true disciples immediately asked in a rush. Su Zan glanced at those people and said, I am the inner disciple who has just started half a month ago. This residence is arranged by the head. This is a token issued by the head. If you have nothing else, please let me. I want to go down the mountain. The token issued by the head. It is indeed a special identity token portrayed by the master himself. Wang Hao and senior brother Qiyang also have them. I can't go wrong with them. Junior brother Su can live in Bayanfang as an inner disciple, genius. Junior brother Su, who is not in the Ningyuan realm, can actually take more than 90% of the spiritual rain, which really makes me ashamed. Although the battle for Lingyu mainly depends on talent, but that is because everyone on Bayan Peak is a master of soldiers, and the gap will not be too big. But now, junior brother Su is short of a big realm. To have this kind of achievement, it seems that the talent is I have been thrown out and I have waited too far. Senior brother Su, I'm your senior sister Lin Qian, and I live in the bamboo forest 10 miles away from your immortal cave. If you have time, come and play with senior sister. After confirming Su Zan's identity, the true disciples all squeezed out a smile and wanted to make friends with Su Zan. They are not fools. Su Zan is so talented, and has the head of the hand-carved token. The future will be shining bright. At this time, if Su Zan is weak, it will be difficult in the future. Besides, the Lingyu is gone. Even though I feel very upset, it's useless to investigate Su Zan now. I do have a token issued by the head, but that is after becoming a true disciple. Qi Yong watched those people please Suzan, feeling very upset, and said, unlike this junior brother, who can get it in a small Ningyuan realm, I doubt the authenticity of this junior brother's token. Suzan said calmly, that's your own problem. Qi Yang's eyes were cold, and his face was gloomy. The head can never portray an identity token to someone who has not reached the master state of soldiers. Where did your token come from? Do you know that forging identity tokens privately is a big crime? Forgery can fake one's open Bayanfang's formation and enter Bayanfang. It seems that most of this person is training his brain. Suzan glanced at Qi Yong, didn't bother to pay attention to him, turned around and left. Seeing that Suzan didn't give his face, Qi Yang's forehead bounced with blue veins, and his heart became a little angry. I am the first true disciple, and I have the responsibility to maintain the order of Bayan Peak. If you don't let me check today, then don't even think about going down the mountain. Qi Yong moved and stopped in front of Suzan with a bad tone. Suzan frowned, thought about it, and passed the token in his hand. Qiong's cultivation base has reached the pinnacle of the main realm of soldiers. The natal soldiers have been conceived for several years. They are powerful, and they are not necessarily Qiong opponents before they have condensed their own natal soldiers. Moreover, Suzan didn't want to do it at this time, he just wanted to quickly prepare the materials to condense his life force and break through to the main state of the soldier. This token. Qi Yong took the token, his face changed slightly. Somewhat unbelievable. It's actually true. However, how could the head give a special identity token to a disciple of the Ningyuan realm? Even Qi Yong doesn't have this kind of honor. Have you seen enough? At this moment, Suzan's voice sounded. Qi Yang's face was ugly, and he said in a deep voice, it's okay. See it clearly this time, don't waste my time next time. Taking the token from Qi Yang's hand, Suzan glanced at Qi Yong and turned back down the mountain. The truth is first, but that's it. Suzan's voice sounded. Qi Yong looked ugly and clenched his fists. If he hadn't cared about Suzan's identity, he had already shot Suzan and killed him. I want him to be the first in the dignified truth, and he is respected in the Yuntian Sword Gate. When has it been said in this tone? What a shame. However, Suzan Ning's Yuan realm can live in Bayan Peak, and his talent is so abnormal, he must be highly valued by the head. If you want to punish Suzan, I am afraid that you have to think and become proficient and think of a good way. Qi Yong stared at Suzan's back, thinking in his heart. Suzan walked down the downhill stone path of Bayan Peak. This scene was seen by many inner disciples, and they were a little surprised. Because the true disciple in their memory is not Suzan. It's him, Suzan. Zhao Li stared at Suzan, his eyes gleaming, and he said to the younger brother on the side, quickly, go and notify senior brother Luanjian, that person is Suzan. Forget it, I don't need you, I will go by myself. Before he finished speaking, Zhao Li changed his attention again and turned away excitedly. Today is the big day of the entire inner sect. Luanjian also came to watch this grand event under Bayan Peak. Of course, being the #1 inner sect, he is different from the disciples who huddled together. At this moment, he was in a large pavilion, drinking with several other powerful men of inner sect while enjoying the spirit rain competition. Ling Yu. It is rumored that once bathed in Ling Yu is worth a few months of practice. More than that, the spiritual rain also has the effect of strengthening the physique. If I can also bathe in the spiritual rain once, it would be great. You, don't think about it, but Brother Luan is still possible. Several inner sect powerhouses are joking. When Luanjian heard what they said, thinking of Suzan's affairs, his heart became more upset. It is also the inner disciple of the Ningyuan realm. As the #1 inner sect, he is watching from the bottom of the mountain. Suzan, a new beginner, can bathe in spiritual rain. It's so unfair. The more Luanjian thought about it, the more annoying he got, and Gulu took a sip of wine. Senior brother Luan. That Suzan appeared. Zhao Li's voice sounded. Luanjian's eyes condensed, looking at Zhao Li who was running over, and said in a deep voice, where is he? Just above the mountain road. Zhao Li's hand pointed towards the mountain. But Brother Luan, Suzan hasn't gone down the mountain for half a month. I'm afraid that he has been practicing hard in the closed-door training. After bathing in the rain, maybe he has reached the late stage of the Ningyuan realm. Ha, Ning Yuan realm late stage, what's the point? The same realm, the difference in combat power is huge, even if it is 10 Suzan, it is difficult to stop me. Luan Jian looked at Suzan on the stone road, then glanced at the inner disciple surrounding Bayan Peak, his expression excited. God helped me too. It just so happened that the inner disciple gathered today. It is estimated that many of Elder are watching. I defeated Suzan in front of everyone. Elder will definitely make a decision and let me live in Bayan Peak too. Otherwise, the entire inner disciple will feel uneasy. Ha ha ha, I haven't waited in vain for this half-month. Today is the best time for me to defeat Suzan. Zhao Li cupped hands and said. Then the younger brother will first wish senior brother Luan to be famous in the first battle and live in Bayan Peak. Zhao Li, after I defeat Suzan and move into Bayan Peak, my original immortal cave will be given to you. Senior brother Luan is serious about this. Nonsense. Luan Jian was in a good mood and said, anyway, it was also allocated by sect. I will not transfer it to you. I will be taken back and redistributed after a while. If it wasn't for you this time, I don't know if someone robbed me to stay in Bayan Peak, it's a reward for you. Thank you brother Luan. Zhao Li is overjoyed. Several other inner disciples were a little confused at this time. One of them asked, Brother Luan, what are you talking about? What Suzan? I'll talk about these things later. At this time, I'm going to challenge, and finally wait until this person goes down the mountain. It happens to be such a big day. Such an excellent opportunity, I can't let it go. After Luan Jian finished speaking, his figure flickered and rushed towards Bayan Peak. 10 minutes later, Suzan walked out of the formation of Bai Yunfeng, and just wanted to open the mouth to let those curious onlookers get out of the inner disciple. The inner disciple in front had already retreated to both sides, giving way to a path. On the other side of the road, Luan Jian walked over with a smile. You are Suzan, right? I'm Suzan, who are you, have something to do with me. I am Luan Jian, the first inner sect, I want to challenge you. Suzan was a little surprised. Looked at Luan Jian carefully. Make sure that you don't know this person at all, let alone enmity or something. Since he is a stranger, he wants to challenge himself if his brain is broken. Next time, I was eager to ask Chen Chengfeng about the breakthrough of the soldier's master state. Although Suzan was very puzzled, he didn't take it too seriously. But he just walked out a few steps. Luan Jian stopped in front of him again. What the hell do you want? Suzan frowned slightly, feeling a little unhappy in his heart. It's very simple, today you and I will fight, let everyone see who is the strongest inner sect. The number 1 inner sect, you can take this kind of false name as long as you want it. It's my business. This is not a false name. If you live in Baiyunfang as an inner disciple, doesn't it mean that you are the best and most powerful in inner disciple? Luan Jian bluntly said, only the strongest inner disciple is eligible to stay in Bayan Peak. If you beat me, I will be convinced. Otherwise, everyone is an inner disciple. Why can you stay in Bayan Peak? This sentence caused a wave of waves in the inner disciple nearby. They thought that Suzan's identity was mysterious, and there was no such person among the true disciples. Now they heard Luan Jian say with their own ears that they knew that Suzan turned out to be an inner disciple. It turns out that it's only inner disciple. I'll just say that there is no such person among the true disciples. It's not a true disciple who is staying in Bayan Peak. Who gave him the qualification? Senior brother Luan is the first in inner sect, and he can't stay in Bayan Peak. It's really unfair. Everyone is an inner disciple, why is he treated differently? The voices of dissatisfaction sounded. Finally, under the Bayan Peak, there was a lot of grievances. Suzan's gaze swept over those resentful people, and finally stayed on Luan Jian, thought for a moment, and nodded. Well, I promise your challenge, come on, right here, don't waste time. Very good. Luan Jian was overjoyed, waving his hand to signal those people to retreat, leaving a large open space for them to fight. Shut up all of you. This is a decision made by the old man and the boss. It is your turn to question. At this moment, a voice sounded like thunder from above. The disciples' ears were numb because of the shock, and they looked at the sound from their faces with horror. Realizing that it was the big elder Chen Chengfeng who was flying over, he was shocked and quickly closed his mouth. Suzan, you don't need to pay attention to his challenge, just go what you want. Chen Chengfeng's expression was mild, and he cut his way to Su. Luan Jian's face changed slightly. Chen Elder, You questioned what I said. No, the disciple is rude. After being glared by Chen Chengfeng, Luan Jian's body was trembling, and he quickly lowered his head and cupped hands. No, I accept his challenge. Suzan shook his head. At this time, Chen Chengfeng intervened, and of course he could leave. But in this way, I am afraid that the grievances in those people's hearts are even greater, and they may even think that the relationship between him and Chen Chengfeng is special. Moreover, as he left today, there will be more doubts in the future, and more challenges like Luan Jian War Practitioner will consume his mind. In that case, it's better to show your own strength and let these people retreat in the face of difficulties. Chen Chengfeng frowned slightly and said, Suzan, although you have reached the late stage of the Ningyuan realm at this time, Luan Jian was already in the late stage of the Ningyuan realm 2 years ago. 6 months ago, he defeated a host of soldiers. Practitioner of the early stage, I am afraid there will still be a gap in your strength. It's okay. Suzan shook his head. Well then, since you insist on doing this, I won't stop it. After speaking, Chen Chengfeng withdrew from a distance, and said, You two challenge to challenge, but you don't have to kill each other. Do you understand what I mean? Chen Elder, don't worry. Luan Jian smiled. I just want Elder to see that Luan Jian is not inferior to him, and I am eligible to live in Bayan Peak. I will definitely keep my hand. By the way, the disciple wants to boldly ask if I defeat Suzan. Can you also live in Bayan Peak? Can. Chen Chengfeng nodded. Suzan has already moved into Bayan Peak. If Luan Jian defeated Suzan, not allowing him to stay in Bayan Peak would definitely cause all inner disciple to dissatisfied. Moreover, the first time inner sect stayed at Bayan Peak, there was a precedent, and it was not a major event. Thank you, Elder. Luan Jian was full of smiles, separated from Suzan by 100 meters, and said, Junior brother Su, what I am good at is swords. I have cultivated the mid-level sword technique of the profound stage, and I have practiced the sword technique wildly. Then take a look at our two swordsmanship, who is stronger? Suzan shook his head. I don't use a sword. Without a sword. Luan Jian was taken aback for a moment, then his face sank. Suzan's move clearly looked down upon him. Well, junior brother, be careful. Luan Jian was angry in his heart and cut out with a sword. Sword chi intertwined into a wave and swept towards Suzan. When the disciples around saw this scene, they were all excited and somewhat relieved of their hatred. Senior brother Luan has taken action. Haha. Brother Luan is our first inner sect, this battle will win. Senior brother Luan takes Suzan too seriously, actually using his strongest sword technique. What do you know, this is called a lion fighting a rabbit, and use all your strength. Brother Luan is so handsome with this sword. Senior brother Luan is so powerful, senior brother Luan is so handsome. Senior brother Luan, The 18 or 9-year-old female disciple was shouting obsessively for the brother she admired. When she suddenly saw the scene ahead, she was suddenly stupid. Unbelievably muttered. Why was he beaten up? Originally noisy, the crowd who applauded Luan Jian fell silent. One by one, his eyes widened, and his heart was shocked. First in inner sect, senior brother Luan Jian was actually defeated by this Su sect. That's the palm of the mountain, a high-grade grasp of the profound steps. Ningyuan realm, start to cultivate Xuanji high-grade martial arts. When brother Qi Yang was in the Ningyuan realm, he also cultivated the Xuanji high-grade martial arts, but he only cultivated to the entry level. This Suzan seems to have become a small. In that case, his martial arts savvy is higher than senior brother Qi Yang. No wonder, he can live in Bayan Peak. Luan Jian is really nothing in front of him. ... Those words pierced Luan Jian's heart like steel needles, making him feel that the injuries in his body were getting worse again. Puff. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he looked at Suzan in a daze. One move. It's just a trick. I am defeated. No wonder Suzan couldn't draw his sword. Because there is no need to draw a sword to deal with him. Luan Jian was bitter in his heart, and barely got up from the ground, and whispered, Master Su, brother, I gave up, thank you, brother Su, keep your hands. I don't kill you because you have no intention of killing me. Besides, both belong to the swordsman. Chen Elder has already spoken. I will naturally save you. Su Zan's tone was indifferent. If he wanted to kill Luan Jian, he would be able to kill with just one palm, but it would not do him any good. Looking at those onlookers, Su Zan's voice was sent out with true essence, spreading far and wide. I am Su Zan, staying at Bayan Peak in the Ningyuan realm. Whoever refuses to accept, you can challenge today, and if you come again after today, bother me, at your own risk. This sentence resounded clearly in the ears of thousands of inner disciple, but no one dared to answer. Chen Elder, let's go, I want to go to the sect treasury to pick the materials of the natal soldiers. Su Zan said to Chen Changfeng. Although Chen Changfeng felt that Su Zan had a chance to defeat Luan Jian early in the morning, he did not expect to be so clean and tidy, and was a little dazed for a while. Hearing Su Zan's words, he came back to his senses and nodded with a smile. But when they were about to leave, Qi Yong flew down from Bayan Peak. Stepping on a long sword, fluttering in white, walking with the sword. Junior brother Su alone won 90% of the spiritual reign today and defeated Luan Jian again. It's really charming. Qi Yong had a slight smile, and his tone was flat. Su Zan said lightly, if you have something to say, don't talk nonsense. Qi Yang's smile froze, and immediately he put on an unrelenting and generous appearance, and said, I am really happy that Yuntian Janman can have a kind of arrogance like a junior brother. Since I entered Yuntian Janman, there hasn't been after passing the opponent, can you fight with me after the junior brother breaks through the main land of soldiers? Good. After Su Zan finished speaking, he turned and left. Clean and neat, as if answering a trivial matter. Thank you, junior brother, for your fulfillment. Qi Yong kept smiling, and when Chen Changfeng and Su Zan left, the smile on his face suddenly disappeared. With Sen Han killing intent in his eyes, he stared at Su Zan deeply, and with a flick of his sleeve, Yu Jian returned to Bayan Peak. Su Zan, 190% of the spiritual reign. Qi Yang's words echoed in Luan Jian's heart. His pupils shrank suddenly, and his fist hit the ground hard. It turned out that Su Zan was the mysterious genius who caused the big day's vision. Even Qi Yang and Wang Hao didn't fart in front of Su Zan. He actually wanted to challenge such a terrifying guy. If Su Zan just drew the sword, the consequences. Luan Jian was frightened for a while, and immediately remembered something, turned his head, his eyes fell on Zhao Li who was still in shock. Luan, senior brother Luan, it's none of my business, I didn't expect Su Zan to be so perverted. Zhao Li noticed something wrong, and quickly explained. At this moment, he was deeply regretful. I thought that Su Zan was going through the back door, who knows, is such a perverted evildoer. You didn't expect it. I think you deliberately wanted to kill me. Luan Jian's voice contained endless anger, and he punched out. Asshole thing, if it wasn't for Brother Su's generosity today, Luan Jian, I would really have been killed by you. Do not want. Zhao Li yelled in horror, but it was too late. The powerful true energy contained in that punch blasted into his body, tearing his meridians apart. True yuan leaked, cultivation base was abandoned. Yuntian Sword Gate Treasure House. Su Zan wandered around for a few times, frowned slightly, and said to Chen Changfeng, Chen Elder, don't you have some Wang Pin materials? This, it really doesn't. Chen Changfeng looked a little embarrassed. With Su Zan's divine body talent, it was said that the king-grade material, even the divine-grade material used for forging divine armament, was fully qualified to use it. But Sha's national strength is weak after all. It is only a small country. Although Yuntian Janman is the #1 sect, the best material for refining, it is probably only the top grade of the mysterious rank. Su Zan hesitated and said, I heard that the materials used to condense the zombies will determine the power limit of the zombies. If you use these as the main materials, will you regret your death in the future? This is actually not. Su Zan, the power of the zombies is enhanced with the practitioner cultivation base ascension, and you can add materials at any time later, but the effect is of course not as good as the first condensed. Chen Changfeng thought for a while, and hesitated. If you want to, you can go to the light blue mountain range of Sha Kingdom. There is rumored that there is a piece of heavenly star fragment. If you can bring it back as the main material, your natal soldier, it will definitely be extremely powerful. TNY star fragment. TNY stars should be very huge. The fragment Chen Elder said is not that mountain range, right? Of course not, the huge one. We call it the outer meteorite. The star fragment is a special material produced by the Big Bang after the life of a star. It contains the power of the star. If it were the mountain range, it would have been strong. Take it away, but it's someone else's turn. Actually, this matter is not a secret. Many people know that the light blue mountains have been found by those strong men over and over again. There are countless people who went to look for them. It's considered a rumor, but according to my Yuntian Janman's record, there was indeed a piece of heavenly treasure that was suspected of being a star fragment that fell into the light blue mountain range, and I'm still willing to believe it. Chen Chengfeng showed a look of reminiscence. Back then, I also searched and found nothing. You can also try it. If you don't find it, postpone the breakthrough time. The headmaster and I will help you find a way to get higher grade materials. Light blue mountains, good. Su Zan nodded. Afterwards, he selected a long sword of the top-grade spiritual weapon in the Yuntian Sword Gate Treasure House, and left the Sword Gate Treasure House. 2 days later, light blue mountains. Su Zan's eyes fell on Su Jiaoyu, who was struggling to support Su Jiaoyu, who was besieged by a large group of demonic beasts. His face was a little weird. What a coincidence. But the configuration of the protagonist of the retired stream, in terms of luck, she is stronger than herself. Last time I followed her to achieve a great sun god body, this time. The thoughts in his mind turned sharply, and the corners of Suzanne's mouth curled slightly, revealing a slight smile. The next moment, he cut out with a sword. Flowing fire sword technique. The flames filled the sky, and after the flame, the 12-headed third-order demonic beasts were all turned to ashes. Thanks, Suzanne, it's you. Su Jiaoyu saw the person who shot her, and her little face suddenly showed surprise. Why did you come to the light blue mountains? I'm looking for something. Suzanne smiled. Find something. Su Jiaoyu bit her lip, embarrassed. Are you also here to find dry land binyan? Dry blue ice flame. What the hell? Suzanne hadn't heard of it before, and immediately shook his head. I'm here to find a piece of Tianhui star as the main material to forge the life force. Zhengming Yuan Bing. Have you condensed the peak of the Yuan realm so quickly? Su Jiaoyu was a little surprised. She hadn't broken through to the Ning Yuan realm, and Suzanne was about to break through to the main soldier realm. This abnormal cultivation speed. Suzanne nodded. Well, Yuntian Sword Gate has a spiritual rain conference. I have absorbed a lot of spiritual rain, and this realm. Then congratulations. Su Jiaoyu smiled sweetly. Do you have any clues about dry blue ice flame? If so, I can find it for you first. Anyway, I don't have any clues about the star fragment in the sky. I always look for it wherever I go. Stopped in the light blue mountains for a few days, I have determined the approximate range. Su Jiaoyu nodded and frowned slightly. However, the location of dry blue ice flame seems to be among the most powerful family near this mountain range. How to get in is still a big problem. I have already figured out several ways. Suzanne, help me see which one is better. Quote. The first one, I stunned the maid their family came out to purchase, pretending to be a maid and went in. Second, I sneaked in at night. The third one, the young master of that family is very greedy for beauty, maybe I can use him to get in. The fourth, that's it. Suzanne was a little speechless. Haven't you thought about asking people if you want you to go in and search? How is this possible? Besides, should we make up a suitable reason? Otherwise, people will let us in. The right reason. Suzanne groaned for a moment. Yes, I know how to say it. If you take me over, you will definitely get dry blue ice flame. Well, Suzanne, you are really my lucky star. Su Jiaoyu didn't doubt Suzanne's words, and said with a smile. Suzanne also smiled and said silently in his heart. What a coincidence, I think you are also my lucky star. 3 hours later, the two came to the first big family in the light blue mountains, outside the Li's house. The Li family mansion covers an area of more than 10 miles and is extremely huge. Those guards at the door are all practitioners of Qi realm. Seeing Suzanne and Su Jiaoyu walking not far away, they both increased their vigilance. Suzanne, what excuses have you prepared? Looking at the door of Li's house getting closer and closer, Su Jiaoyu curiously asked. At that time you will know. Suzanne smiled. Soon, When he came to the gate, he was not unexpectedly stopped by the guards. Suzan said, "Thank you to report, there are treasures hidden in this area of your family. We plan to take them away and borrow the place for use." Su Jiaoyu, who had been thinking about what Suzan could do, was stunned. Big doubts arose in the little head. This is Suzan's method. Tell them directly that you have hidden treasures in your house and I want to take them away. Isn't this too outrageous? Su Jiaoyu was not the only one who was bewildered, but the guards were also stunned. Having been a doorman for many years, they wanted to enter the Li family as an excuse, because they had seen countless people, but Suzan was really like this. It was really the first time they had met. Especially with Suzan's serious look. It seems very emboldened. They didn't know how to deal with it for a while. This son, wait a minute, I'll report it. Just as the guard just turned around and was about to report, a young man in a beautiful dress walked out in front of him. His gaze swept across Su Jiaoyu's incomparably small face, his eyes lit up suddenly. "Inform, your uncle." The brother-in-law smiled all over his face. "Too, I am Li Rulong, the young master of the Li family. I very much welcome both of you to come to our Li family as guests." "Young master, they came to our house to hunt for treasure." The guard gave a prompt. "Treasure hunt." Li Rulong laughed and said, "This is great. We have a lot of treasures in the Li family. Welcome to appreciators." Suzan and Su Jiaoyu looked at each other, did not speak, but they all understood each other's intentions. Luck was so good, they met a fool. "Then thank you Li Gongzi." Suzan smiled and nodded, and walked into Li's house first. Before entering Li's house, the door behind him suddenly closed. "What does it mean?" Su Jiaoyu's face changed slightly, and she asked. Li Rulong chuckled, and told the close guard at the side of the soldier's main realm, "The man is killed, and the woman is stunned." "Yes." The strong guard nodded blankly. Obviously this is not the first time he has done this. Suzan was also a little stunned at this time. "I thought that at least I would have to wait until I found the treasure to shoot, but now it seems that I am looking up at Li Rulong. This person is really stupid." Seeing that the strong soldier in the main realm slashed with a knife, the blade was 10 meters long, and the power was terrifying. Su Jiaoyu's face changed slightly, and she was about to use her life-saving hole cards when she saw Suzan punch out. After the Spirit Rain conference, his Yangan Junjing has been small, and the overbearing Yangan Junyuan cooperated with Yanbang Fist to burst out extremely strong. Boom! The space in front suddenly became extremely hot, and the red flame-like aura suddenly condensed, and then exploded in an instant. Shoo! The long knife in the hands of the strong soldier in the main realm burst into pieces. Under that terrifying force, the broken blades flew out and shot into the ground, above the beams. And the practitioner's chest suddenly sank. The internal organs shattered instantly under this punch. He spit out a mouthful of blood mixed with visceral fragments, and his body fell weakly. Spike. One punch. Suzan looked at own fist, but he didn't know whether the Yanbang Fist was too powerful or the person was too weak. Li Rulong was stunned for a moment, and immediately felt terrified. He felt that Suzan was also looking at him, and suddenly shouted, You can't kill me. I am the young master of the Li family, and my father is in the late stage of the mainland of soldiers. The strong, if you dare to kill me, you must die without a place to be buried." Just as Li Rulong had just finished speaking, a majestic voice sounded, "Who is it, dare to behave in my Li family? I'm tired of life, right?" A tall middle-aged man appeared. His eyes swept over the body of the guard, and landed on Suzan with an extremely gloomy expression. "Father, these people broke into our Li's house and killed Yang Huwei. They also tried to kill me. Dad, if you come late, your son might be gone." Seeing the middle-aged man appeared, Li Rulong seemed to have caught a life-saving straw. He was relieved, and pointed at Suzandao bitterly. "Dare to offend my Li family, no matter who you are today, you must leave me forever." The middle-aged man didn't mean to talk to Suzan at all. The natal soldier who had been warmed up in Dantian flew out of his body, turned into a golden longsword, and fell towards Suzan. "This is the power of the original soldier, it seems to be weaker than I thought." Seeing the dazzling golden light sword she slashed, Suzan also slashed out. Li Rulong sneered disdainfully. "Just relying on you, are you still trying to fight my father? Court death. My dad is the late-stage strong man of the soldier. In the light blue mountains, he is an absolute strong man. What are you, dare to break into our Lee family? Hey hey, when you die, your woman daddy must play her to death. With my dad, you two are totally. Li Rulong couldn't speak anymore before he finished speaking. Ahead, Suzan withdrew the long sword from the middle-aged man's chest, looked at Li Rulong, who was still in a daze, and said, "Well, now your father is gone. This. How can this be?" Li Rulong's heart collapsed. Among the 4 major families of the light blue mountains, Li's home is the first because of the strength of his father Li Minghai. But now, in front of Suzan, he was so dead. Even if the vitality of the original soldier is stimulated, he is still killed by a sword, and there is no room for resistance. This Suzan is terrifying. No, don't kill me. In Li Rulong's heart, because of Li Minghai's sorrow, his anger was replaced by fear. His legs trembled, and his voice trembled. If you don't kill you, do you keep it for the new year? A faint voice sounded, and Suzan had just taken a step towards Li Rulong. Li Rulong was already limp on the ground, a piece of his crotch was wet, and he was scared to urinate. Please, I know I was wrong, I apologize. Our Li family's treasure, yes, treasure. Li Rulong looked a little crazy. Don't you want treasures? Give it to you. We have a lot of treasures in the Li family. Please, my father is dead, don't kill me, leave me a dog. Suzan stared at Li Rulong, who was so terrified that he was a little delirious, and shook his head. A murderer will always kill him. The true energy surged. He just wanted to kill Li Rulong with a sword, and another practitioner rushed over from the side. Who knows how to live and die, dare to be in our Li family. Halfway through, the practitioner saw the situation clearly and his pupils suddenly shrank. You want to kill me too? Suzan's voice sounded. No, I am Li Mingshan, Elder Li Mingshan, this young man needs something, I can help. I am useful. Li Mingshan swallowed, stuttering. I am useful too. Please. Call out. Li Rulong's voice just sounded, and a sword chi fell on his neck, cutting off his vitality. You don't need so many useful people. Besides, you damn it. Killing Li Rulong with a single sword, Suzan looked at Li Mingshan. I killed your Li family patriarch and young master today, don't you want to kill me? Dage and his rebellious son have always done a lot of wrongdoing, doing a lot of anger and grievances, and now you are provoked by the son. It is their own way of death. Besides, with the strength of your son, our Li family, how dare we retaliate? Li Mingshan said cautiously. Unexpectedly, your consciousness is so high. Su Zanpo looked at Li Mingshan in surprise, and then turned to Su Jiaoyu, who was still a little stunned, and said, Miss Jiaoyu, do you have any methods you can use? This person will cooperate. Good. Su Jiaoyu nodded and began to walk in the direction of Li's house. On the way, she asked in a low voice, Lin Sr., how did Suzan kill the late-stage powerhouse? It's not that the more realm goes to the back, the harder it is to fight across tiers, but he directly crossed a large scale. Realm, hasn't even used the divine body yet. If you cultivate a high-grade movement technique of a profound stage, a high-grade sword technique of a profound stage, a high-grade cultivation technique of a profound stage, and awaken to a god body that fits the cultivation technique martial arts, and combine all of these, it's almost perfectly integrated in one sword, and you can do it too. Lin Feiyu's voice sounded. Su Jiaoyu opened her mouth slightly, her footsteps stopped subconsciously. Suzan walked over slowly from the rear, and gave her a surprised look. What's the matter with you? Suzan, you are so perverted. Quote. Seeing the girl who continued walking forward after Yu said these words to herself, Suzan was a little baffled for a while. I'm an ordinary person who is just a little handsome, so how come I'm abnormal? 10 minutes later, Su Jiaoyu came outside a deserted courtyard of the Li family, asked Li Mingshan a few words, waved him to retreat, and by the way told other members of the Li family not to come near here. Walking into the courtyard, Su Jiaoyu directly sat cross-legged, her eyes slightly closed, and began to operate the unique cultivation technique. 2 kinds of different fires, white and gold, emerged from her body. With the tap of her finger, the different fires condensed and became the size of a drop of water. Searching, Su Jiaoyu gave a soft drink, and the small flame was spinning rapidly in the air in front, and finally blasted under the earth. Sure enough, here, Su Jiaoyu's face was full of joy, and with a touch of her finger, she withdrew the strange fire from the ground. Crack! Suddenly, a layer of frost began to appear on the ground in the courtyard, and somewhere, it was completely covered by the extreme cold, and blue rays of light shot out from the cracked cracks. In the end, a blue flame appeared like a liquid flowing, suspended at a low altitude of 1 meter, about the size of a fist, but exuding this terrifying force of extreme cold. Su Zan ran the Yangan Junjing, and the hot Yangan Junyuan's power emerged to resist the extreme cold. He was a little surprised. This kind of flame is actually an extremely cold attribute. Dry blue ice flame can freeze everything after being thoroughly mastered, and the fire's isolation effect is extremely strong. If I conquer and cast dry blue ice flame to cover myself, even the strongest of the ichthyosaur realm will not be able to pass through the dry blue ice flame. I feel a little breath. Su Jiaoyu was very excited when she thought of Lin Feiyan's special effect about the dry blue ice flame. This dry blue ice flame is weird. Just as she was about to collect it, she suddenly noticed the strangeness of dry blue ice flame. In the center of the dry blue ice flame, there is a special substance, which is almost the same color as the dry blue ice flame. If you don't look closely, you really can't tell. Su Zan also discovered this material at this time, and his heart moved. Is this the piece of star out of the sky? It's no wonder that those strong people can't find it. This thing is actually wrapped in this kind of strange fire. Even though those strong souls are powerful, mental energy can penetrate hundreds of meters deep underground, but it cannot penetrate dry blue ice flames, and dry blue ice flames can only be sensed by the special physique of Su Jiaoyu, and those people naturally cannot find this treasure. Thinking about this, Su Zan smiled and said, if you guessed correctly, this thing should be the piece of star outside the sky I'm looking for. Star fragment. Su Jiaoyu was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect it to be so coincidental that what she and Su Zan were looking for were actually together. After thinking about it, Su Jiaoyu said, well, after I finish collecting the light blue ice flame, you can also take away the star fragments. Su Zan nodded. Seeing Su Jiaoyu begin to concentrate on collecting dry land binyan, he also sat down to cultivate. Anyway, there is nothing to do now, and no time can be wasted. Li family. A crowd of elders gathered together, their eyes all looking at Li Mingxian, who was gloomy and clenched his fists. Second brother, today our Li family patriarch and young master both died tragically, can you really bear this breath? A tall elder took the lead to break the silence. Boom. Li Mingxian slapped the table in front of him into pieces, and said angrily, of course I can't bear it. I just catered to them just now, just to temporarily deceive them into trust. In our Li family, kill my Li family patriarch, young master. That Su Zan must die today. Quote, thanks for watching, please like and subscribe. Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I have a trillion protagonist Halo. Chapter 31. As soon as these words came out, those elders responded. Yes, our Li family is the overlord of the light blue mountains. We have never been the only one to bully others. Today is a shame. This person is so young, he has such strength, he must be born in Bufan, he must have many treasures. The elder group was excited, but soon, they calmed down and frowned. Second brother, this person can kill the patriarch, we are probably not his opponent. He is indeed strong, but his strength is extremely limited. Li Mingxian sneered. Besides, we don't need to fight him head-on. I have ordered to go down and light the purple Duxiang, around that deserted courtyard. And I have already notified the other 3 families of the light blue mountains to come to help. Zijuxiang. It is rumored that this thing is a strange poison in the world. Even if the strong Yuandan realm stays in this fragrance for too long, it will be poisoned, the whole body is limp, and even a finger is unable to wave it. Second brother, where did you get this kind of thing? The fragrance of Zaidu is colorless and tasteless, and it is impossible to guard against. If it is really this fragrance, then no matter how powerful the kid is, he will only be obedient to death. Every Li family elder showed surprise. Li Mingxian stood up from his seat and said, I also got it accidentally. I thought I wouldn't use it in my entire life, but I didn't expect to become the killer of our Li family today. Calculate the time, it's almost time, let's go. Let's go and see first. If that person really doesn't have the slightest resistance, we will solve it by ourselves, and the treasures of that person don't need to be divided among the 3 major families. If he still has some spare energy, he doesn't need to risk and fight hard with him, just wait for the powerhouses of the 3 major families to arrive. Quote. Yes. Those elders nodded one after another, and followed Li Mingxin towards the deserted courtyard. In the courtyard, Su Zan was cultivating, and a system of ascension sounds suddenly sounded. Ding. Complete the achievement task. First poisoning, and unlock a new halo. The protagonist will not invade the halo. The protagonist has 100 poisons without invading the halo. Greatly increase the resistance to various poisons, ignore most poisons, and the protagonist can be used to poison. Non-existent. What the hell? Su Zan was a little surprised. He was poisoned without noticing it. Frowning, using true essence power to explore the body carefully, and sure enough, a trace of toxin was found. Very rare, but if it is not cleared in time, I am afraid it will bring serious consequences. The 100 poisons non-invasion aura is activated, and those toxins are discharged instantly. This aura is really easy to use, but poisoning will activate the 100 poison non-invasion aura. Then if I go to death, will I be able to activate the immortal aura? Su Zan was greatly moved, but after thinking about it for a while, he still didn't have the courage to wipe his neck with a sword. Oh, forget it. To unlock the halo, let's do whatever it takes. Turning his head slightly, Su Zan looked at Su Jiaoyu. To his surprise, Su Jiaoyu was fine. Above her bracelet, a peculiar light stretched out, enveloping Su Jiaoyu. This power, Yulong realm, or higher. Su Zan felt a little bit surprised. It seems that Su Jiaoyu might really have a mysterious strong man attached to her body. Seeing that Su Jiaoyu was okay, Su Zan also felt relieved. Then he walked towards the courtyard gate. If the Li family wants to kill him, then he doesn't need to make any sense. As soon as he walked out of the yard, Su Zan saw Li Mingxin coming with a kind of elder. What's the matter, second brother? Didn't you say that you used Zijuxiang? Could it be that by such a coincidence, he also has the antidote to purple duxiang? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Zijuxiang is very rare at first, how could it be such a coincidence? The expressions of those elders changed, and they became frightened. Li Mingxin's face was green and said, "What are you afraid of? I've seen it just now, Zaidu incense has burned out, he must be poisoned. Perhaps it is his strength that makes him still have the strength to come out now, but I can be sure that his current combat power is definitely less than 1/10 of the previous one. He is now as weak as an ant, what's so terrible?" Quote. Weak as an ant. An elder hesitated. But I don't think his face looks like it. He pretended it on purpose. Li Mingxin sneered. I don't believe it, there are people who can be immune to the poison of Zaidu. Don't let him go. When those elder heard Li Mingxin's words, they all showed hesitation. Trash. Just now, when this sun was in its heyday, it is excusable to retreat. Now that he is very poisonous, what are you afraid of? Li Mingxin cursed and walked to Su Zan. Look at how I kill this person. He said so, but Li Mingxin didn't rush up directly, instead he shot a fist shadow more than 30 meters away to test Su Zan's strength. I see when you pretend to. Boom. Su Zan displayed a glimpse of light, and his entire body straddled a distance of tens of meters. Li Mingxin only had time to show a look of horror, and his body was blasted out. Before he landed, all his internal organs were already shattered, and his vitality was cut off. This is weakness like an ant. Is there such a perverted ant? The mental defenses of those elders in the Li family were directly smashed by Su Zan's punch, and they turned and ran. Since I am determined to kill me, I don't have to run now. The long sword was unsheathed at the waist, and Yang Yan Junyuan vomited. Flowing fire sword technique. Su Zan's figure flickered, like an unstoppable flame. In less than 10 seconds, all the elders who followed Li Mingxin died. Xiaocheng's Liuhuo sword technique is still not agile enough. If it is to reach the peak and cut out with a single sword, Liuhuo's sword intent can cover the entire Li mansion. Why do I need so many swords? Su Zan murmured, and the long sword was sheathed. Back in the courtyard, after waiting for a while, Su Jiaoyu finally collected all the dry blue ice flames. And that mysterious substance, suspended in the air alone, looks like a blue crystal. Sure enough, it's a fragment of the outer star. Just stretched out his hand and touched it, feeling the mysterious energy from Tiantian star. Suzan was happy in his heart and put it in his storage ring. Afterwards, the two walked out of the courtyard. Su Jiaoyu glanced at the corpses outside with some shock, looked at Suzan, and stopped talking. I don't kill them, they will kill us. Suzan saw what she was thinking, and said lightly. Yes, I know. Su Jiaoyu nodded. Lin Feiyu had already told her about the nearly poisoning. If it were not for the protection of the mysterious powerhouse Lin Feiyu, Own would not be able to resist that kind of strange poison. These people, definitely damn it. At this time, outside the door of Li's house, the three middle-stage practitioners of the other three families in the Light Blue Mountains led dozens of Ningyuan realm practitioners to gather. Your Chen family is here too. I remember that your Chen family and Li family have an enmity. That was a private enmity. Today, outsiders came to our four Light Blue Mountain families to make trouble. The nature is different. Hehe, I think you have taken a fancy to the treasure on that kid. After all, as the Li family said, this person is probably a noble person who sneaked out of some great power to experience it. If you kill him, our three families can do it. Fat. Humph, stop talking nonsense with you, the Chen family will go with me. The three strong soldiers in the main realm exchanged a few short sentences before rushing into Li's house. Anxiously came to the deserted courtyard of Li's house. Haha, I'm the first Chen Hao to arrive. Today I must. The powerful soldier in the Chen family smelled a trace of blood, and noticed something was wrong. When he saw the corpses standing in the doorway, the whole person suddenly felt like an ice cellar. Seeing Suzan coming towards him, Chen Hao's pupils shrank suddenly, his legs bent, he knelt on the ground, took out a piece of jade pendant from the storage ring, raised his hands tremblingly above his head, using the strength of feeding, his voice was hoarse and roaring road. Today, I am sure to give my Chen family's treasure to Master Su to you. Didn't come to kill me. Why did you kneel down before you hit, and what else to give me? Suzan was a little surprised, his gaze passed over Chen Hao, and looked at the people who rushed in behind him. As a result, in less than a second, the other two soldiers from the main realm also knelt down with a group of Ningyuan realm practitioners. I also have a treasure from the Zhao family in the Light Blue Mountains to give Master Su to you. Our money family is too. The faces of the two soldiers, the practitioner, were sweating coldly. The Zhao family took out a chilly long sword and raised it above his head. The decent female nun of the Qian family searched for a while in the storage ring, but couldn't find a decent thing, and gritted her teeth. If Master Su doesn't mind, the maid will be willing to shut up. Suzan had already guessed what she was going to say next, and quickly scolded. Although beauty is fine, at least he is in his 30s, right? Want to eat his Suzan's tender grass? Suzan snorted coldly and glanced at those people. Aren't you here to kill me? Master Su joked. How dare we come to kill you? Chen Hao squeezed out an ugly smile. It's true that when the Li family notified me to come over to help, I was thinking, we must find a way to prevent them from persecuting you against Master Su. Oh, you don't know Master Su. The Li family is the strongest family in the Light Blue Mountains, and usually bullies our Chen family. Chen Hao hurriedly said, if you don't believe me, just grab a disciple of the Li family and ask them if they have any grudges with our Chen family. Su Gongzi, you helped us out of this nasty anger. This piece of Bailing jade can protect us from mosquitoes. Qi, the body is fragrant, please accept it, otherwise, our Chen family will have trouble sleeping and eating. Uneasy sleeping and eating. Suzan was amused by this person, and didn't say much. He picked up the piece of Bailing jade and handed it to Su Jiaoyu, smiling, take it, if it doesn't turn fragrant when we meet next time, we will come to trouble him. Thanks. Su Jiaoyu's face turned red, and she took the jade pendant. When Chen Hao heard Suzan's words, his face was pale, and he wondered if he had to fly away when the matter was over, in case Suzan really came to trouble him. After all, the smell of body surface is different from person to person, who can guarantee it? Suzan then took the sword. The spirit weapon was of high grade, and the quality was slightly lower than the one in his hand, but in places like the Light Blue Mountains, it was indeed a top treasure. After thinking about it, he gave this sword to Su Jiaoyu. Yuntian's sword gate has a lot of profound tools. When he breaks through to the main state of the soldier, he can choose at will. This sword is like a waste product to him. Suzan, why don't you give me everything? I don't have the equivalent treasure to give you now. Su Jiaoyu hesitated for a moment, and said a little embarrassed. I am Yuntian Janman disciple. I can take the Janman treasure house at will. It is useless to me. Suzan smiled and explained. Then, thank you so much. Su Jiaoyu took the long sword and loved it, and just absorbed the dry blue ice flame. Her cultivation base also broke through to the Ningyuan realm. This sword is very suitable for her to use. Miss Jiaoyu, since this matter has happened, then I will return to Yuntian Janman. Well, I also want to go back and cultivate my control over the different fires. The power that I have exerted is too small now. Suzan nodded, said no more, turned and left. Su Jiaoyu looked at that figure in a daze. Everyone has already left. What are you looking for? There is no Dao companion with unequal strength in the cultivation world. If you really like him, you should work harder. Otherwise, how can you be qualified to stand by his side? Lin Feiyan's voice sounded, and Su Jiaoyu came back to her senses, her face flushed and a little annoyed. Lin Senior, what nonsense are you talking about? I was just thinking about things. Thinking about being with Suzan. Lin Senior, you hate it. Su Jiaoyu blushed and left here. Until she and Suzan were invisible from the back, the talents of the three major families dared to stand up from the ground. Horrible. Terrible. Although I feel that young Master Su's cultivation base is not strong, his strength is terrible. Li Jiaran provokes such a horrible person, and he deserves to be destroyed. Li Shan bastard too damn it, actually want us to give them three families buried together Li. Fortunately, I Hao Chen clever. Three soldiers, the main border practitioner, scared endless. Back Yuntian Janman, the Soviet Union cut directly to Chen Chengfeng Immortal Cave. Information outside waited a few minutes, to see Chen Chengfeng came hastily. Su Cut, how do you come back? Chen Chengfeng somewhat surprised. You're not the royal heir, you need to go back and forth as almost a day or two for 4 days, which means one day you find time in light blue mountains not to. Right, Su Cut nodded. Chen Chengfeng frowned and said. Su Cut, although you extraordinary talent, but things cannot be true at least halfway you have to search for a few days and then give up. Su Cut, the search for so long doing. Chen Chengfeng put an earnest look and said, you are a genius godhead, air transport far more than ordinary people, even in light blue mountains I had all spent more than a month, only reluctantly give up, you find fragments of possibility far star more than me, why do not? But I've got, Su Cut look of puzzled. What? Chen Chengfeng disbelief and said. You say you will not get the wrong light blue mountains do not know how many fish have been strong throughout the long, still nothing, you are so short period of time, to find. Yes, Su Cut nodded seriously, come up with a piece of debris toward the star Chen Chengfeng delivery in the past, Elder Chen you helped me find this is true. Hiss, Chen Chengfeng took a look, suddenly sucked down air conditioning. This is the Godhead Tianzhao terrorist air transport it. Look around you picked up out of this treasure. But then he struggled to find a month, did not find a piece of shit. This is what's special. Then people, mad people. Chen Chengfeng feeling chest block feel uncomfortable. Chen Elder, is this really? I am kind of not the end, I feel this thing seems to be very easy to find Chen Chengfeng looked depressed. What I especially uncomfortable even if you cannot spend more than a day you do. So I can feel better Chen Chengfeng some heart-tired wave of his hand. This is indeed a go-go star debris. I will help you communicate Yang Master. You first go back to other news first. Okay then. Star back the debris. The Soviet Union cut and walked away. Just leave the Soviet Union cut soon. Chengfeng Chen Yuntian sword came Janman Peak is located. Toward a great hall flew past. Chen Yang, now you come to do. Qin head of Jincheng thought something about the Soviet Union cut cohesion own path soldiers, frowning, the young and come to the Soviet Union cut this child talent heaven defying, I intend to personally go spacecraft war, at all costs, but also to buy material goods for his king. Quote. Head of the senior, not a. This is why, Chen Chengfeng said. One thing I want to ask head of the senior year ever go looking for that piece star light blue mountains debris? To go, but I just searched in light blue mountains 3 days left, that kind of thing too ethereal, not expect awe. Qin Jincheng sighed. He went to the Soviet Union cut. Oh, he went too. Yes, but, in light blue mountains searched less than a day, he returned. Less than a day. Qin Jincheng frowned, some concern. The Soviet Union cut this child, Godhead Tianzhao, but now it seems, his heart and mind is not firm, but still give up so soon, I am afraid that his future. But the head of the brothers, he has been the Soviet Union cut pieces of star. Chen Chengfeng voice sounded in the Great Hall. In the Great Hall, there was silence. The phrase, Suzan, he has got the star fragment, still echoed in the empty Great Hall. Qin Jincheng felt that his head was blank at this time, and his entire mind was filled with Chen Chengfeng's words. For thousands of years, the treasure that countless people have dreamed of and searched day and night was so easily found by Suzan. Is the luck of this child too heaven-defying? Brother head, brother head. Hearing Chen Chengfeng's call, Qin Jincheng recovered from the trance, and said with a solemn expression, Junior brother, have you confirmed it? It's really a star fragment from heaven. Brother, how could I make a mistake about this kind of thing? The power of the star in that piece of star fragments is immense, I still sense this. Recalling the power of the star, Chen Chengfeng also sighed. Fan, Ling, Zan, King, God, that star fragment, I am afraid that it is among the top divine armament materials. If it's really the star fragment in the sky, it will naturally be the case. Qin Jincheng sighed. I'm afraid this is the true pride of the heavens. I am so lucky that I can't compare with it. Junior brother, although the most important thing for condensing the life force is the main material, other auxiliary materials are also available. Don't be careless. Senior brother, don't worry, even if I empty the sect treasury, I have to find Suzan a set of supporting materials that fits best. As Chen Chengfeng said, he suddenly remembered something, and said, by the way, brother-in-chief, if I remember correctly, you seem to have gotten a piece of gold 3 years ago. Take it. Without blinking Qin Jincheng's eyelids, the light in his hand flashed, and a piece of Zhengjin with short fingers appeared, and he threw it to Chen Chengfeng. Our Yuntian swordsman has been established for 1,000 years, and we finally have such a genius, let alone a trivial Zhengjin. Just want the old man's old bottom, that's nothing. Chen Chengfeng was a little moved, and cupped hands saluted. Junior brother thanked the head brother for Suzan. Material matters are okay. To condense your life force, you must also have some refining foundation, otherwise you will not be able to even the simplest shaping. If it is someone else, you can just teach it, but Suzan is a rare good thing after all. Miaozi, this step can't be casual. Senior brother, don't worry, I plan to let Ouyang Mu personally teach Su the technique of cutting refining tools. Ouyang Mu. Qin Jincheng frowned, this old stubborn person doesn't give any face to him. He doesn't know how to teach anything seriously. You can understand it all by your own understanding. Ask him to teach. It's better to find a master refiner. NS. If it were someone else, I would definitely not think of Ouyang Mu, but Suzan is different. He can get star fragments within a day, and maybe he has the ability to make Ouyang Mu value. Chen Chengfeng smiled. After all, Ouyang Mu is also one of the strongest digital refining tools great master among the 15 countries in Tianan area. Right now, he happens to be staying at our Yuntian Sword Gate. Wouldn't it be too great if he didn't take advantage of it? Pity. Qin Jincheng nodded. That's true. Ouyang Mu travels all over the world. I have stayed in our Yuntian Sword Gate for 2 years. Some time ago, I meant to leave. I gave him a piece of water that is unique to Sha State. After studying it for him, he stayed down. A few days ago, he heard that he had thoroughly analyzed the composition of the water-flowing iron. It is estimated that he will leave soon. If you want to contact him, junior brother, please do it early. Okay, I'm going to handle this now. After Chen Chengfeng finished speaking, Yu Jian left. Back at Bayan Peak, it didn't take long for Suzan to enter Immortal Cave. There were already voices outside. Junior brother Su, I'm Immortal Cave Nigon on the 11th. Upon learning that junior brother Su is back, I am ready to break through the condensing state, and I have specially prepared a white stone crystal bronze for you. Junior brother Su, I am Chen Muan, Immortal Cave on the 19th. There were still some materials left when I condensed soldiers last time, and I found them all through my painstaking search. If you don't dislike it, you will give it to junior brother. Junior brother Sue, I am. As soon as the true disciple spoke, he saw the gate of a mortal cave on the 17th open, and Suzanne smiled and walked out. Sweeping his gaze over a few true stories, Suzanne smiled and said, "Thank you, brothers, for your kindness, but I'm already prepared and don't need this." That's right, junior brother Sue, you're the proud boy of heaven, sect must arrange everything for you. Those true disciples were not too surprised, and talked with Suzanne slightly lost. After dealing with those people a few words, watching them leave, Suzanne also returned to a mortal cave. These things may be precious to others, but they can all be found in the treasure house of Janman. That being the case, why owe others favors? Senior brother Chi, this Suzanne is too pretentious. On the 17th, a few miles away from a mortal cave, Qiyong and several true disciples were exchanging their cultivation experience, and they happened to see this scene. And the grass on the wall. That Suzanne is just a small Ning Yuan realm, they actually fawn like this. Senior brother Qiyong doesn't like those trash, so just let them go. Several authentic disciples who had been friends with Qiyong ridiculed. Qiyong smiled faintly, it's normal. They only know that Suzanne has amazing talents and a bright future, but they haven't thought about it. All this, after the battle with Suzanne, ceased to exist. Brother Qiyong, what do you mean? Suzanne is so arrogant. I intend to abolish his cultivation base during the decisive battle, which is a punishment for him. Qi Yang's face was flat, as if he was talking about a small matter. Looking at Immortal Cave number 17, a sinister smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Suzanne, you have to quickly break through to the main battlefield, I can't wait any longer. The second day, Suzanne went to Shaoju Peak. Last night, Chen Chengfeng had already informed him about Ouyang Mu through his identity token. Today, he is going to Shaojufeng to meet Ouyang to learn the most basic method of refining. The practitioner of the practitioner realm not only has its own life force, but also its strength is greatly enhanced. Moreover, the practitioner of the practitioner of the practitioner can use the mysterious weapon. At that time, you will choose a Royal Sky Profound tool from the Sword Gate Treasure House. It will be much easier to go where you usually go. Thinking back to the various materials about the main soldier realm in his mind, Suzanne felt a little impatient, speeding up. An hour later, Shaoju Peak. Suzanne had just set foot on the gravel path leading to Ouyangmu's residence in the middle of the mountain, when a voice suddenly sounded behind him. Junior brother Su, it's a coincidence. There was a faint smile on Qi Yang's face. I heard that you have condensed your life force. This trip, are you here to learn the method of refining? Suzanne said, does this have anything to do with you? No, I just want to remind my younger brother that the method of refining tools is difficult to learn, and Master Ouyangmu will not teach people without talent. You may come here for nothing, haha. Qiyong laughed, speeded up, and walked past Suzanne. Soon, both of them came to the refining workshop in Ouyangmu's residence. Master Ouyang, I know, it was Chen Chengfeng who called you here. See it for yourself. If you can understand it, you can understand it, and if you don't understand it, you will get out. Ouyangmu was a very strong old man. He was sweating profusely and was putting some materials into the huge forge furnace. He didn't even look at Suzanne, and said very impatiently, Qiyong, the question you asked me last time was included in this refining. You may have some understanding after reading it. For Qiyong, Ouyangmu seemed to admire a little, and spoke a little more politely. Yes, Master Ouyang, I must study hard. Qiyong replied respectfully, and then he looked at Suzanne somewhat proudly. Junior brother Su, you are a beginner, come to watch Master Ouyang's refining tools, how can you understand it? Or give me something you don't understand. Brother, let me talk about it. Today, brother, I'm in a good mood. Maybe I can call you one or two. At this time, Suzanne didn't have the time to pay attention to Qiyong, because just now, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding. Complete the achievement task. Watching the refiner for the first time, to unlock a new halo, Protagonist Refining Halo. Protagonist Refining Halo, the protagonist who can't refining is not a good protagonist. After the halo is activated, Ascension's affinity for various refining materials and understanding of refining is greatly enhanced, and the probability of success in refining is extremely high. The refiner aura is on. Suddenly, the refining steps that were originally incomprehensible became extremely simple in Suzanne's eyes. The purpose of adding tianxingsha in this step is to improve sharpness. The purpose of adding pure water is to better engrave the water attribute inscription. It seems that the sword created by Master Yang should ultimately be a water attribute mysterious weapon level long sword. But if you want to build a water attribute long sword, it seems that you can remove the black yin iron just added. In Suzanne's mind, his thoughts turned quickly, and all the materials for the refining of this sword, as well as the upcoming steps, as well as several refining methods, as well as the final difference caused by each refining method, and the success rate were all estimated. Junior brother Su, are you dumbfounded? Ha ha. Qi Yang saw Suzanne staring at the refining furnace blankly, and said with a smile. Master Yang, why do you want to join Black Yin Tai? At this moment, Suzanne spoke. Qi Yang and Yang Mu were both stunned as soon as they spoke. Qi Yang didn't speak, the corners of his mouth curled slightly. This Suzanne, don't you know that Master Yang most dislikes other people asking questions when he is refining tools? It seems that when Master Yang will be angered, it is estimated that Su will be driven off Xiaojufeng. Sure enough, as Qi Yang expected, Yang Mu was very unhappy, and said in a deep voice, just look at it, where are so many problems? I only asked one question. Okay, then I'll tell you. Yang Mu said loudly, black yin iron is to neutralize the pure water and star sand. You refine the water attribute long sword, why do you want to neutralize the two? Suzanne said in amazement. The fusion of pure water and star sand will indeed make the long sword cumbersome, but you can completely give up the light spirit attribute, increase the two inscriptions of Frost and Julie, and change the refining direction, to change this sword from a light-spirited, fighting type to a powerful offensive type. In this way, this sword only loses a little bit of lightness that can be fully compensated by the strength of the practitioner, but the power of the sword body has increased more than 3 times, not much stronger than your refining method. Ignorance kid, you know. Yang Mugong wanted to reprimand Suzanne, but suddenly there was a spirit in his heart, shocked flashes in his eyes, and he looked at Suzanne. Suzanne, how did he know that he was going to refine the water attribute long sword? Now it's just a sword embryo, and the materials are by no means enough to explain the properties of the final product. Besides, isn't Suzanne someone who has never been in contact with a refiner? How could such an inference be made? Moreover, it turned out to be right. Is it a coincidence? Calm down and carefully recall Suzanne's words. Yang Mu actually felt that there was some truth in it. Junior brother Su. This is Xiaojufeng, even the head will not offend Master Yang. You are so arrogant, do you still want to point Master Yang? Qi Yang sneered in his heart and scolded, since you don't want to learn, just get out of. Shut up. At this moment, Yang Mu glared at Qi Yang and roared. Immediately afterwards, Yang Mu looked at Suzanne and asked nervously, Xiao Su, according to what you said, you can refine weapons that are 3 times more powerful. Does the subsequent process also need to be changed? I am very sure that. Suzanne nodded, walked to the furnace of the refining device, glanced over the materials, and said, it's actually very simple. You only need to add this, before the second tempering of the sword body, and then add it. It is refined into the sword body with strong fire within 10 seconds. Following Suzanne's narration, Yang Mu's expression became more and more solemn. In the end, all the doubts in his eyes were eliminated, and he began to think about Suzanne's words very seriously. And, from time to time talk about own opinions. Talking and chatting, the two exchanged their refining experience as if they were equal. Even in the process of communication, Suzanne was in a high position, most of the time Yang Mu was listening carefully. Qi Yang who was next to him was stunned. My mind was blank, I felt dreaming. In the entire Tianan area, even the Yulong realm would give some points to Master Yang of face, yet he talked to Suzanne with a learning attitude. Suzanne is so strong in the way of refining tools. And, what are these two people talking about? I was praised by Master Yang for having a talent for refining, but I couldn't understand a word. Qi Yang listened to the two with a dazed expression, and he didn't even have a chance to interrupt. Finally, After hearing a knowledge point he was more familiar with, he quickly said, Master Yang, I think you can go down the mountain first. Yang Mu said unceremoniously, I and Su Xiaoyu are discussing the way of refining tools. Are you qualified to interrupt? Get off. Just a little talent makes you complacent. Su Xiaoyu is a real master, but he has the humble heart of an apprentice. The more Yang Mu looked at Qi Yang, the more unpleasant he felt, and he held out his finger at the door. You don't need to come again in the future, Xiao Zufeng doesn't welcome you. The power of Yuan Dan realm powerhouse erupted from Yang Mu. Even if Qi Yang was not convinced by all means, he could only be aggrieved and left in a desperate manner. When he descended the mountain, he was in a trance, and he was a little unbelievable, and his steps were a little vain. 3 hours later, Su Zan also left Xiaojufeng. After 3 hours of understanding, he has clearly grasped all the steps of Ningbing. Just waiting to condense the life force. Thinking like this in his heart, Su Zan found Chen Changfeng and told him about it. Chen Changfeng was pleasantly surprised and said that within 3 days, other auxiliary materials would be prepared, and then he could begin to gather Su Zan's natal soldiers. Afterwards, Su Zan also returned to Bayan Peak to continue cultivating martial arts and cultivation technique. The second day, Yuntian Zhanmen Great Hall. Chen Changfeng, Qin Jincheng, and several powerful elders gathered together and began to make suggestions on how to obtain the best materials for Su Zan. While they were discussing, Yang Mu suddenly came to the Great Hall. As soon as 1 foot crossed the threshold, he yelled, Qin Jincheng, Chen Changfeng. Where is Su Zan? I thought about it all night and couldn't even sleep. I finally made up my mind to accept him as a disciple. Qin Jincheng and Chen Changfeng, as well as those elders, were all dumbfounded. What's the situation? Yang Mu, an old guy who never came out of Xiaojufeng, ran over today. Want to accept Su as a disciple? Yang Mu glanced at the elders, saw no one respond, his face showed a decisive look, and gritted his teeth. Otherwise, let Su behead me as a disciple. Let Su Zan accept you as a disciple. Qin Jincheng was dumbfounded. After a while, he recovered and hesitated. Master Yang, are you here to joke with us on purpose? Who is kidding you? Yang Mu said in a huff. If you can't be the master, tell me Su Zan's position, and I will find him personally. Seeing Yang Mu's angry look, those elders also believed in most of them. It's just that they can't think of it even if they want to break their heads. How could a top refining great master think about defeating Su Zan as a teacher? Isn't this nonsense? Chen Changfeng opened his mouth without saying a word. Really let Master Yang worship Su as a teacher? Or reject the request of Master Yang, who is now angry? None of them seem to be appropriate. If so, then be a dumb. Anyway, he is not the head. Chen Changfeng secretly said in his heart. At this time, Qin Jincheng finally got serious. Master Yang, if Su Zan is really talented, you can accept him as a disciple, but if you let him accept you as a disciple, don't say such things. If this is spread out, is it ruining your reputation? What a shit reputation. Yang Mu showed a look of remembrance and said, Su Zan is not only a little talented, he is extremely talented, and his knowledge in the way of refining tools is no less than mine. But the old man has lived more than 200 years old, and he is still so young. What? If he focuses on the art of refining, I am afraid that in the future, he will become the top refining master in the entire Eastern Wasteland domain. I can worship under a saint master, that is my blessing from Yang Musho. Quote. Qin Jincheng and Chen Changfeng looked at each other, both of them saw the shock in each other's eyes. Listening to Master Yang, Su Zan's talent for refining is not losing his enchanting martial Dao talent. Divine body, super savvy, great fortune, and now there is a strong talent for refining. How many ancestors of Yuntian Zhanmen showed their spirits together, so that their generation received Su Zan this kind of perverted evildoer disciple? After confirming that Yang Mu was not here to make trouble, Qin Jincheng was in a good mood and said with a smile, Junior brother Chen, if this is the case, then you can bring Master Yang to see Su Zan. Yes, senior brother. Chen Changfeng took Yang Mu and left. Head, what Master Yang said is true. How is this possible? Su Zan's refining talent is so terrifying. Master Yang made a mistake, right? The mental energy of the refiner is very powerful. Doesn't this mean that Suzan is also very talented in mental energy cultivation? As soon as Yang Mu left, the elders couldn't help but ask Qin Jincheng. Qin Jincheng shook his head, glanced at the elders who were still somewhat unbelievable, and smiled. Everyone, let's not use our own standards to speculate on the enchanting genius like Suzan. For a metamorphosis who can pick up star fragments when going out, the talent for refining is extremely high, and it does not seem to be so fussy. Qin Jincheng said silently in his heart. Over Bayan Peak. Chen Chengfeng opened the formation light wall and landed on Bayan Peak with Yang Mu. The two entered from above the formation, causing the light walls of the entire formation to shake, which naturally attracted the attention of many true disciples. That's Chen Elder. Who is the other person? It's Master Yang of Xiaojufeng. I once went to Xiaojufeng to beg Master Yang to teach me how to refining tools, but he kicked it out. I would never admit him wrong. Master Yang. That's the famous master crafting master who is said to even give him the face of a strong fish dragon realm. In our entire Yuntian sword sect, only senior brother Qi Yang is slightly appreciated by Master Yang. Could it be that this time, he came for senior brother Qi Yang? Mostly, it seems that senior brother Qi Yang's limelight is better than before. A real disciple was moved, and came from all over, his eyes fixed on Yang Mu and Chen Chengfeng in the distance. Looking at it, they were puzzled. The direction Master Yang is taking is wrong. Qi Yang's immortal cave is not there at all. Immortal cave number 17. This path is to immortal cave number 17. Master Yang turned out to be looking for junior brother Su from immortal cave on the 17th. Master Yang can go directly to Yukong, but he chose to walk. Is junior brother Su really so important to Master Yang? Do you want to show your sincerity in this way? Suspicious voices sounded inside the immortal cave on the 17th. Sensing the arrival of the strong, Suzan opened the door. After taking a look at Chen Chengfeng and Yang Mu, he was surprised. Chen Elder, Master Yang, are you coming to me for anything? Chen Chengfeng glanced at Yang Mu, and said to Suzan, Suzan, Master Yang said that you have a talent for refining tools and want to accept you as a disciple. Accept me as a disciple? Suzan was taken aback, and then shook his head. Not to mention that he didn't want to waste too much time on refining, even if he really wanted to learn refining. What Yang Mu can teach him is only some partial knowledge of materials and years of experience, and these, with the terrifying effect of the refining aura, I am afraid that he will be able to learn it in a few days. That being the case, worship a fart teacher. Seeing Suzan's refusal, Yang Mu hurriedly said, why don't you accept me as a disciple? I must study hard. Suzan. Master Yang joked, let's forget about accepting disciples. If I have free time in the future, I will go to Xiaojufeng to communicate with Master Yang on your refining experience. Is it really impossible? No. Suzan shook his head resolutely. Accept you as a disciple. What a joke. When others accept apprentices, it is the apprentice who serves the master. You are so old that you are so old. Then you will have to let me, the master, serve you. When I'm stupid. Su cut his belly to slander. Seeing Suzan's attitude so determined, Yang Mu could only give up. Next, the two began to talk about the problem of the mixer. I talked for several hours, until Suzan couldn't stand Yangmu, who had hinted dozens of times and still depended on not leaving, and directly told him that he would leave him for cultivation. Yang Mu stood up reluctantly. Chen Chengfeng fell asleep while listening, and was patted twice by Suzan before leaving with Yang Mu in a daze. Little friend Su, although you don't have enough common sense on refining tools, your insights on refining tools really amaze me. At the door, Yang Mu sighed. Xiaoyu Shang Su, a crafting genius like you, should give up martial Dao and concentrate on crafting. You will definitely become a craftsman in the future. Give up martial Dao. Chen Chengfeng reminded him on the side. Master Yang, Suzan him, is a divine body. God body. Yang Mu's eyes widened, and he obviously didn't expect Suzan's martial Dao talent to be more terrifying than the crafting talent. After a long pause, Yang Mu said in a reply, I take back that sentence. I will have some free time in the future. I will often come to discuss the way of refining tools with Su Xiaoyu. I will leave today. Good. Suzan nodded, and when Master Yang walked tens of meters away from the door, there was absolutely something wrong with him. He hurriedly shouted, "Master Yang, if you have nothing to do in the future, don't come, I will go to Xiaojufeng when I am free." This voice spread out. Those who have been waiting outside, wondering if they can take this opportunity to also have a relationship with Master Yang, and Qi Yang, who just ran over to apologize and restore the relationship with Master Yang, are instantly dumbfounded. Master Yang's name, junior brother Su doesn't know it. Let Master Yang be okay, don't come. If Master Yang is willing to point me to me once, I will be so excited that I can't fall asleep. But looking at junior brother Su's expression, it seems to be disgusting. He speaks to Master Yang, isn't he afraid to anger Master Yang? A true biography stared wide and looked forward. Beyond their expectations. Hearing Suzan's words, Yang Mu just nodded in disappointment, then turned and left. Could it be that the rumors are false? Master Yang is actually very approachable, not as irritable and indifferent as those people say. Right, it should be so right. Otherwise, how to explain the scene just now? A famous disciple couldn't restrain his excitement, and walked forward to salute Yangmu respectfully. Master Yang, I am Chen Muhei, and I want to follow Master Yang to learn how to refine tools. Master Yang, I am Huali, admire. FK off. The second true biography disciple had just spoken, Yang Mu was already scolding. With a wave of his hand, the power of the Yuan Dan realm was revealed, and all the true disciples who were in the way in front flew to both sides. Qi Yang also came to Yang Mu at this time. Master Yang, I think. No need to say more. Yang Mu didn't even look at him, and left directly with Chen Changfeng. A group of stunned truthful disciples and Qi Yang whose expressions were hard to see were left behind. What's the matter? I just said hello, and I was beaten off by Master Yang. You even said hello anyway, I just walked over and people flew. Damn, who just said that Master Yang is actually very approachable? Oh, I didn't expect it. Master Yang has such a good attitude towards junior brother Su, and that's it for us, even senior brother Qi Yang. Shut up all to me. Qi Yang said angrily. Suzan. It must be Suzan who spoke ill of him in front of Master Yang just now. Otherwise, how could Master Yang be so indifferent? Suzan. Damn it. Qi Yang's heart burned with anger. He took a deep breath, and looked at Immortal Cave number 17 with murderous intent in his eyes. Originally, I just wanted to destroy you. It seems that if you are not dead, I feel uneasy. The next 2 days, Suzan's door was almost broken. Because of Yang Mu's affairs, the 23 true biography on Bayan Peak, and 22 of them often come to want to make friends with him. As for the remaining Qi Yang, he stayed in the Immortal Cave and couldn't even cultivate himself. Regarding this situation, Suzan would be polite at first and send them away. Then just let them go, don't bother him. After that, it calmed down. The third day, Suzan walked out of Immortal Cave and headed to Consolidated Soldier Valley. Condensed Soldier Valley is a forbidden area of Yuntian Jianmen. It is said that there is an extremely strong flame in the center of the earth, and a super large array is arranged, which will only be opened when the extremely outstanding disciple in sect wants to break through the main soldiers. An hour later, Suzan came to Ningbinggu. The head of Qin Jincheng, the big elder Chen Changfeng, and some casual elders all stood above Taniguchi, waiting for his arrival. Even Yang Mu came from Xiaojufeng deliberately. Suzan, the materials are ready according to what you said, please check it first, there must be no mistakes. Qin Jincheng pointed to the special iron box road in Ningbing Valley where materials were placed. Okay, thanks to the headmaster and Chen elder. Suzan nodded, and walked into Consolidated Soldier Valley. There are 8 bronze-cast golden dragons around Ningbinggu, which are located exactly in 8 directions in the center. That is the exit of the fire in the heart of the earth. When the formation opens, the 8 dragons breathe out fire to condense their life force. Above, one can clearly see chain-like inscriptions intertwined, covering the entire sky of Ningbinggu. After checking the materials, Suzan nodded to Qin Jincheng. Suzan, you adjust your breath for a while, and when you feel that you are in the best condition, I will start formation. No, I'm in a good state now. Suzan shook his head. Well, the Earth-Fire formation is about to start. Although the formation engineer will carefully control the Earth-Fire and will not hurt you, you must pay more attention to it. There is definitely a danger. Qin Jincheng said solemnly. Understood. Su Zan replied, turned around, and placed the piece of star fragment in the center of Ningbing Valley, in the circular area with extremely dense formation inscriptions. Next, he sat down 30 meters away and waited for the formation to open. 1 minute later, rumble, the earth trembled suddenly. Above the sky, those chain-like inscriptions began to move. The light of crimson shrouded. Below the star fragments, a series of inscriptions shone, and the star fragments were lifted up and suspended in the air at a height of 20 meters. Immediately afterwards, the 8 golden dragons buzzed, and 1 rune appeared on the surface. A crimson light began to light up from the tail embedded in the mountain, and it moved all the way to the dragon's head. Finally, it turned into a crimson pillar of fire and sprayed out. 8 pillars of fire, from 8 different directions, converge on the star shard at the same time. Su Zan mental energy and true essence force gush out at the same time, controlling the decomposition and refining of star fragments, adding some auxiliary materials in from time to time. 3 hours have passed. The shards of star shone brightly and turned into a sword embryo. But Su Zan could sense that the star power in it had not been released. Such a natal soldier will only possess the indestructible material properties of the star fragments. As for the power of mobilizing the star, I am afraid that it will not be possible to do so. Well, the strength of the star fragment is beyond our expectations. If Su Zan can't completely refine it and condense his life force, he may fail. The breakthrough of the Ning Yuan realm practitioner to the soldier main realm is inherently very difficult, not only because it takes a huge amount of true yuan and mental energy to condense the original soldier, but also because at the time of breakthrough, the practitioner itself is like a yuan soldier, tempered by Tiandi's spiritual qi. If you can't hold on, you will fall short. I believe in Su Zan. If you are an ordinary person, naturally you can't refine the star fragment, such a heavenly treasure, but Su Zan, he will definitely be able to. Chen Chengfeng, Qin Jincheng and the group of elder looked solemn, and looked at them nervously. They are praying silently for Su Zan, come on. A look of regret appeared in Ouyang Emu's eyes, and he shook his head and said, from the perspective of the old man's more than 100 years of refining experience, even if Su Xiaoyu can break through successfully, he can't stimulate all the power of star fragments. If there are auxiliary refining materials of the same divine quality, it's all right, what a pity, what a pity. Just after he finished speaking, Su Zan's body suddenly burst into light. A phantom of the big day hung high above the head, exuding a panic of the big day. At the moment when the big day appeared in this round, the power of star, originally hidden in the fragments of star, swept out. Boom! As if unable to bear this terrifying power, Ningbinggu's large array of rays of light flickered, wailing endlessly. With Ningbinggu as the center, the sky with a radius of 100 miles suddenly darkened. Stars appeared, and star-like rays of light fell from the sky, descending into Ningbing Valley. Heaven and earth vision. This is to condense the life divine armament. Everyone was shocked by this scene and immediately rejoiced. General practitioners' condensed zombies are called zombies, and zombies are also divided into many levels of strong and weak potential. With the practitioner cultivation base ascension, the stronger the potential of the original soldiers, the greater the power they will exert. And if the potential is small, you must continue to add new materials to reconcile the day after tomorrow. Of course, this is just a general practitioner. There are some special practitioners, when they condense their life force, they will trigger the phenomena of heaven and earth. This type of force has infinite power, and it can strengthen the body of the practitioner when it is warmed and bred in the body of the practitioner. This is the life of the divine armament. Qin Jincheng couldn't restrain his excitement. It's definitely divine armament, and it's possible that it's extremely strong in the divine armament that provokes the vision of 100 miles around the world. Ouyang was also a little surprised, but immediately, his brows frowned slightly and said, it is indeed true to condense the divine armament, but in this way, if he fails, even ordinary zodiacal weapons can't be condensed. Su Zan, this it's going to be all or nothing. The god body Tianzhao, with luck, if you don't even dare to do this, is it still Su Zan? Chen Chengfeng smiled freely. When she turned her head, she wiped the fine sweat from her forehead. Divine armament. The difficulty of cohesion is 10 times, 100 times more difficult than the average zombies. Although he said that he was chic, but watching Suzan inspire the stars to condense and condense the star fragments, how could he not be nervous in his heart? At this time, Suzan's heart was very calm. The Xinxing aura was opened, and there was nothing else in his world, only the sky full of stars in front of him. After half an hour, above the sky ahead, a long sword with dazzling stars is revealed, and even a little bit of induction, you can feel the vast and boundless power of the star. It's done. Suzan succeeded. Ha ha ha. This is the heaven-defying talent of my Yuntian Zhanmen first Tianzhao. Qin Jincheng was surprised and laughed. But as soon as his smile appeared, it was a little frozen. Both eyes widened, full of disbelief, and looked forward. I saw that Suzan, who was supposed to stop the sacrifice and put the star longsword into his body, stepped directly into the master realm, unexpectedly missed the perfect opportunity for divine armament to step into the master. Fire, start tempering again. Su cut him, is he crazy? Such a great opportunity to condense divine armament has been missed. Reconcile, not only may not be stronger, but there is a risk of failure. Qin Jincheng's face was ugly, and he was puzzled. Not only him, but the others were also dumbfounded, wondering why Suzan gave up the opportunity to gather divine armament. Brotherhead, do you want to forcibly shut down Earth Fire? Forget it, it's too late to close at this time. Not only will it not help Suzan, but it will make him more likely to fail. Hey. That's it. The mayor of Qinjin sighed. This is Suzan's choice. In any case, I respect his own choice and let him go. Chen Chengfeng nodded and fell silent, holding his breath and watching Suzan condensing divine armament again. At this moment, Suzan's eyes were staring at the starlight sword filled with starlight rays. If you are willing, at this time, the success rate should reach 90%. However, my natal sword can be stronger. There was a flash of light in the eyes. The next moment, the power of the great sun divine body was stimulated to the extreme. Suzan's body was shining with golden light, and the phantom of the big day was solid, like the real sun, releasing light and heat. This is the strongest state inspired by the divine body since the achievement of the great sun divine body. Above the sky, a gap was opened in the night of star, and a bright sun descended, filling the starlight sword. The power of the sun and the power of the star are intertwined, constantly merging on the divine armament. The most perfect state, here. 10 minutes later, realizing that the power of star and the power of Dawson reached a perfect fit, Suzan suppressed the excitement in his heart and pointed his fingers forward a little bit. Suddenly, driven by the power of the true essence, the long sword flew towards him and fell into his hand. The moment the sword fell, a sense of connectedness emerged. At the same time, the surrounding world's spiritual chi poured in frantically, and Suzan's body's true essence changed qualitatively, and he officially stepped into the main realm of soldiers. It's not so much a weapon, it's an extension of my torso, this kind of arm-driven feeling. Divine armament, really mysterious. After the day's divine body state was over, Suzan held the long sword a little wearily, and looked at it carefully. The sword is 1 meter and 5 in length, slightly longer than ordinary swords, and the sword body presents the dark blue color of the starry sky. Several small golden rays of light are looming in the sword body, containing the power of the sun. This sword contains the power of the star and the power of the great sun. In that case, we will name it the Star Sword of Great Sun. Suzan muttered to himself. Buzz. The golden light flashed on the vast body of the star sword, which was as vast as the starry sky. Seeing this, Suzan smiled. Practitioners' natal soldiers can be nurtured to slowly give birth to spiritual wisdom, while natal divine armament is born to be psychic. Of course, the current Daori star sword's intelligence is still very low, and he can only make some simple responses and understand some simple instructions. Ding. Complete the achievement condensation divine armament, and unlock the new halo Protagonist Kendo Halo. Protagonist Sword Aura. After opening the Ascension, you can see the pros and cons of various Kendo martial arts, and you have a chance to choose the best and go to the inferior to create your own sword technique. As the protagonist, if he honestly cultivates the Kendo taught by others, then he is definitely not a good protagonist. It's a new halo. Suzan's face was full of smiles, and he opened the sword aura. Suddenly, some of the difficult questions in the previous cultivation of Liu Huo's sword technique became extremely simple in his mind at this time. Slightly closing his eyes, the various mysteries and shortcomings of Liu Huo's sword technique, as well as the advantages and disadvantages of various sword skills, appeared in his mind as clear as a movie picture. It turns out that the essence of Liu Huo's sword technique does not lie in the sky Liu Huo. Opening his eyes, Suzan felt a sense of enlightenment in his heart, and he waved the Dari Star sword ray in his hand, and began to practice the sword technique in the consolidated Soldier Valley. At this time, Chen Changfeng and others came back to their senses. Suzan, this time really condensed one's life divine armament successfully. The recondensed natal divine armament is stronger than before. Sure enough, I didn't read it wrong. Elder was very excited. Yang Mu exclaimed, but he was puzzled. I just condensed his life divine armament. If the closed-door training has been conceived and stabilized for a while, he is practicing the sword. Chen Changfeng turned his head and said to Yang Mu, Master Yang, that is the sword technique of Suzan's cultivation. It is the top grade of the mysterious stage. It is also quite difficult to practice for the strong early stage. Technique cultivation to Xiaocheng. Now it is estimated that I want to find an opportunity for Dacheng. Junior brother Chen Jincheng looked at the sky full of flames that followed Suzan's sword power in the condensed Soldier Valley ahead, with a weird expression on his face. Suzan is already done. Already done. Chen Changfeng looked back, stunned for a moment, and smiled bitterly. If I remember correctly, it hasn't been a month since Suzan's entry to choose Liu Huo's sword technique. A month's time, during which he has also cultivated cultivation technique, palming the technique, fist technique, etc. Under such circumstances, it has also achieved Liu Huo's sword technique cultivation. This kind of perverted enchanting genius, why should we compare with him? Qin Jincheng looked away, smiled and comforted. Comparing talents to monsters like Suzan. In addition to making yourself feel uncomfortable, what other results can there be? Chen Changfeng nodded. The senior brother said that Suzan's talent is something I can compare, but I am a little curious now. How long will it take for Suzan to truly master the sword intent after entering the soldier realm? Qin Jincheng said. In the early stage of the sword intent, there are only a handful of people who can master the sword intent. Qi Yang didn't do it at the beginning. Although Suzan is more talented than Qi Yang, it is estimated that it will take about a month. Sword intent, the kendo artistic conception that can be displayed with the Ningyuan realm, is not a concept. Although the sword intent is also called sword intent, it is a kind of artistic conception force born from this martial arts after the cultivation of kendo martial arts to the peak. For example, Suzan's sword intent must first draw the sword. Use Tianin's sword technique to perform. Belongs to the accessory of kendo martial arts. The real sword intent mastered by the practitioner refers to the sword intent mastered by the practitioner itself. There is no limit to the cultivation of martial arts to the extreme. After mastering the sword intent, sword chi is born on its own. There is no need to use any sword technique at all. A movement of the heart can induce all kinds of sword intents to come. Several other elders also expressed their opinions after hearing Qin Jincheng and Chen Changfeng's words. 1 month. The head brother also believes in Suzan too much. He has just joined the military master, and it takes half a month to stabilize the realm. If I say, it should take about 3 months. Senior Xie, you are too outrageous. Do you think of Suzan as the younger generation of your Xie family? For at least 1.5 months, he will definitely master the sword intent. I think it's the same. 1.5 months, for Suzan, it should be enough, FK. The elder said while watching Suzan's sword practice. Suddenly his eyes widened, and he couldn't help but burst into a swear word for a while. Not only him, but the other elders, including Yang Mu, Chen Changfeng and others, are also silly. I saw that in the consolidated Soldier Valley, flames of sword chi were flying, cutting out gullies on the surrounding stone walls. Even if Suzan did not use the sword technique of the flowing fire, but just a little bit towards a certain place, the scorching and terrifying flowing fire sword intent was just pouring down. Everyone was dumbfounded. In less than a minute, Liu Huo's sword technique was cultivated from childhood to great success. At this moment, I have mastered Liu Huo's sword intent. This is so special. Is Suzan really a human? Just when Qin Jincheng and others were shocked in their hearts, they were looking forward to whether Suzan could touch Liu Huo's sword technique when he reached the threshold. Suzan suddenly stopped, and directly sat down cross-legged, placing the Dari Star sword on his knees, his eyes closed slightly, as if he was looking at something. What is he? Liu Huo's sword technique is the top-grade sword technique of the profound stage after all. How difficult it is to cultivate to the summit, he should be trying to comprehend the inspiration when he used the sword technique. That's true, reaching the peak, and Dacheng are completely two concepts. From cultivation to the peak, the sword technique power will increase exponentially, and the Liu Huo sword intent will be more powerful. Qin Jincheng's gaze fell on Suzan. Insight sword technique can take a few days or even more than 10 days. We shouldn't keep watching it, so as not to hinder Suzan insight and distract him. Yes, the head. At the order of Qin Jincheng, the crowd dispersed, leaving only the two soldiers who had led Suzan in the outer area of Ningbing Valley, the late-stage deacon, guarding Taniguchi to prevent others from disturbing him. Suzan had no idea about the departure of Qin Jincheng and others. At this time, he was completely immersed in insight swordsmanship. It's just that it's not the culmination of the insight flowing sword technique, but a brand new sword technique. When he used the Big Sun Star sword to cast the flowing fire sword technique, he suddenly felt a feeling that if the instantaneous burst of the flowing fire sword technique was combined with the power of the star, perhaps this sword technique would become stronger. Under the perverted effect of the kendo halo, this feeling quickly became an opportunity. Regarding this, Suzan naturally would not let it go, and stopped cultivating Liu Huo's sword technique directly, and started the combination of the power of Insight Star and Liu Huo's sword technique. The starlight circulated on the Dari Star sword, constantly touching with the scorching fire sword intent released from Suzan. In this state, Suzan's understanding of the fusion of the two powers was also a rapid ascension. In the next 2 days, the rumors that Suzan condensed divine armament and triggered visions of heaven and earth spread wildly in Yuntian Jianmen. Although Qin Jincheng ordered the elders not to disclose this matter, the vision of heaven and earth induced by Suzan's divine armament is too exaggerated. Those people are not blind. Knowing that Suzan is going to gather the original soldiers of his life, most of them can guess, perhaps. On the Bayan Peak, Qi Yong listened to the story of the true disciple who had a good relationship with him. His face was ugly. What you said are just rumors, or is there really evidence? Someone saw Suzan heading to Consolidated Soldier Valley. And the vision of the heaven and earth that the Star Knight descends on is also centered on Consolidated Soldier Valley. Besides, Brother Qi, don't you realize that Suzan hasn't responded for several days? Bayan Fang. It's true. It seems that it's mostly true. Qi Yong squeezed his fist, and said angrily, Suzan is so arrogant and at odds with me. The relationship between me and Master Ouyang has become like this. It is the ghost of him. Now he has condensed his life divine armament, I am afraid he will ride on me. Go up. The true disciple hesitated. Senior Brother Qi, or else, did you take the initiative to settle with him? Suzan is too perverted to offend. Can't afford to. Qi Yong coldly glanced at the true disciple and waved his hand. Okay, I'll make plans for this matter, let's go first. When the true biography left, Qi Yang's eyes suddenly showed a strong killing intent. Reconciliation. Even if Qi Yong is willing, Suzan is not necessarily willing, right? Besides, even if the problem with Suzan is resolved, with the birth of Suzan, the honor that originally belonged to his Yuntian sword gate, the admiration of countless juniors, the worship of juniors, the praise of the elders, are highly regarded, the best cultivation resource, everything will be taken away by Su. His Qi Yang's things are never allowed to be taken away by others. The cold light flashed in Qi Yang's eyes. Although Suzan has condensed his destiny, divine armament, realm is not stable yet, and it is impossible to really use the newly condensed divine armament to fight, and I am already at the pinnacle of the host realm, and my destiny soldier nurtures spiritual intelligence and can be driven at will, and his own strength is several times stronger than Suzan, who has just entered the main realm of soldiers. Now that I have all my advantages, it is the best time. Never waste time, let Suzan be solid cultivation base realm. Qi Yong took a deep breath, walked out of a mortal cave, and headed towards Ningbing Valley. Condensing soldiers in the valley. Suzan stood in the center, closed his eyes slightly, as if feeling something. After a while, He opened his eyes and a smile appeared on his face. Flowing fire, starlight, he whispered. A little starlight flew from the purple mansion between his brows. It fell into the hand and turned into a slender sword. Denichi Star Sword. With a sword cut out, a starlight sword mark appeared in the space ahead. After a short period of time, this sword mark suddenly exploded. Boom! A wave of terrifying power spreads towards the surroundings. Not enough. Seeing this, Suzan shook his head. The true essence poured into the sword body, and he cut out another sword. This sword was as fast as thunder, and the stars flashed, and a gully tens of meters long appeared on the stone wall 100 meters away. That ravine went deep into the mountain, and after a few seconds, that part of the mountain, rumbling, collapsed. Suzan showed a thoughtful expression and began to practice a sword technique that resembled flowing fire but was fundamentally different in the Ning Soldier Valley. Starlight sword marks appeared one after another, and sword chi flew. If Ningbinggu hadn't been protected by a large formation, under Suzan's drills, I'm afraid it would have already been reduced to rubble. After half an hour, Suzan took a deep breath. Dari Star lifted his sword, and suddenly, a horrible sword chi intertwined with flames and stars flew out. Boom! This sword slashed directly on the light wall of the Ningbinggu Great Array. The inscription of the large formation flashed, and the area where sword chi was slashed even appeared a very short time whole. It should be in this state. This sword technique is as fast as a star, and while taking into account the explosive power of the flowing fire sword technique, its power is 10 times as powerful as the flowing sword technique. Suzan murmured to himself. His heart was uncontrollably excited. Not only because of the powerful power of this kind of swordsmanship, but also because this is the first time he has created his own swordsmanship. New swordsmanship. What's the name? Suzan thought. Meteor sword technique and star power. Meteor sword technique. It seems too earthy. Mars sword technique. Liuchen swordsmanship. It all sounds almost meaning, but when someone asks it in the future, it seems a bit lacking in compulsion. Sparkle swordsmanship. Suzan's eyes gleamed slightly, and he gave the new sword technique a good name in his heart. Sparkle swordsmanship. On the rank. I'm afraid it can at least be ranked as the top rank, right? Even the sword technique cultivated by the head is just the mid-level heavenly cloud sword technique. That is to say, the power of this sword technique has already surpassed any sword technique of the Yuntian sword sect. Moreover, there is currently only the first style of Starfire light swordsmanship. This swordsmanship is based on the power of star and the power of flame, and there is still a long way to develop in the future. In the future, when you encounter opportunities, it is entirely possible to create the second and third forms of spark streaming lightsaber. By then, the power of this swordsmanship, unimaginable. Just when Suzan was about to continue cultivating Starfire stream light swordsmanship, Ningbingguko suddenly heard the sound of quarreling. Consolidated Soldier Valley is sect's forbidden area. Besides, there are 2 guards of the late-stage practitioner. Anyone dare to break through? Suzan frowned slightly, walking towards Taniguchi with some curiosity. Ningbing Taniguchi. Chi-Yong shook off a hand pushed by a deacon towards him, and said angrily, I am Chi-Yong, the first true biography. You are a deacon, dare to stop me. I'm really sorry, the head instructed personally, no one can go in and disturb him until Su is cut out. A deacon shook his head. Presumptuous, don't you know the meaning of the first representative? Chi-Yong sneered and said, if I were the head of the Yuntian sword sect in the future, do you still want to live? There was a look of fear in the eyes of the 2 deacons. Roll. Chi-Yong spit out a word coldly, and the power of the true Yuan at the pinnacle of the Master Realm broke out. The 2 deacons suddenly stepped back a few steps. Although they are both in the late-stage cultivation base, Chi-Yong is the first in the true biography, and even has an unbeaten record in the early stage of the Yuandan realm, which is not comparable to these deacons. Really fighting, the 2 are going together, and they are definitely not Chi-Yang's opponent. If it weren't for fear that they were from Qinjiancheng, Chi-Yong had already blasted the 2 directly into the air. Where would he say such nonsense? Chi-Yong, you are here to find me, so why embarrass others? At this moment, Suzan appeared at Ningbingguko. His eyes fell on Chi-Yong, and said flatly. Senior brother Su, I heard that you have gathered divine armament. Senior brother, I specially come to congratulate you. Chi-Yong also looked at Suzan and said with a smile. Congratulations. What congratulations do you have? Suzan also laughed. Coming empty-handed, is it possible that you are going to kneel and kowtow to me to congratulate me? Junior brother Su, are you speaking too much? Don't pretend, just say what you want, otherwise, just get out. Suzan didn't have any good feelings for Chi Yong, and he didn't even bother to deal with him, so he said directly. The smile on Chi Yang's face disappeared. If this is the case, then I won't talk nonsense. Do you remember the challenge agreement between us? Quote. Remember. Su beheaded nodded. Well, now that you have made your breakthrough to the main battlefield, it is time to fulfill your promise. Okay, when, where? Seeing that Suzan was so straightforward, Chi Yong was a little surprised, and immediately sneered. It seems that junior brother Su is very confident in himself. If this is the case, what about tomorrow morning? How about our fight on the main peak square of the Yuntian Sword Gate? Can, Suzan said lightly. Anything else? You can get out of it if it's okay. Suzan, you continue to be arrogant, cherish the last time. Tomorrow I will defeat you in front of everyone in Yuntian Janmen. Chi Yong sullenly clenched his fists in both hands and left. Subsequently, Suzan also left Ningbinggu. After cultivation for so long, it is time to go back to Bayanfang to take a bath, eat well, and sleep again. The second day, 90% of the inner disciple of Yuntian Janmen came to the periphery of the main peak square of Yuntian Janmen. In less than a day, Chi Yong had already used a lot of manpower to spread the news that he and Suzan were about to fight here throughout the sword. The goal is simple. It is to defeat Suzan in front of everyone, so that the juniors and sisters who have questioned his identity as the first genius of Keong's sword sect because of Suzan's appearance will re-worship and admire him. Not only because Chi Yong enjoys this feeling, but also because if he wants to succeed as the head in the future, he must leave a very deep impression on the disciples of this generation in advance. It is undoubtedly the best choice to defeat Suzan, who has almost overshadowed him in the main peak square. Soon, Chi Yong and Suzan both came to the square. Junior brother Su, I will ask Elder to seal my cultivation base to the early stage of the soldier land. Don't worry. Chi Yang's words sounded in the square. After speaking, he walked towards an elder who was watching the game. Brother Chi Yong really deserves to be senior brother Chi Yong. So open and upright. With the strength of brother Chi Yong, even if cultivation base is sealed, Suzan shouldn't be an opponent, right? Senior brother Chi Yong is so handsome. ... Hearing those flattering words, Chi Yong was happy. In fact, he never thought of suppressing cultivation base and defeating Suzan. He is not a fool. Suzan is so perverted. Suppressing cultivation base can beat Suzan. There will be ghosts. The reason for saying this is only because he has taken a very special medicine pill beforehand. After Elder is sealed, he only needs to detonate the medicine pill with his true essence power to break through the seal of the original pill realm. At that time, Suzan was killed with a single blow, and then he pretended to be innocent and pushed the black pot to the elder to seal the error, causing him to miss Suzan. When Su was dead, even if the head suspected himself, it would be useless. Because at that time, Chi Yong is the only hope of Yuntian Janmen. Chi Yong thought about this, admiring On's plan in his heart, with a bright smile on his face. No, you use all your strength and all your whole cards to fight me. Suzan's voice suddenly sounded, and the smile on Chi Yang's face suddenly stiffened. As soon as this statement came out, there was an uproar around the square. Senior brother Su, actually want to challenge senior brother Chi Yong in his peak state. Senior brother Chi Yong is the pinnacle of the main soldier realm, and his combat power is not even weaker than the general early stage powerhouse in the Yuan Dan realm. Although Suzan has also had the record of killing Luan Jian, who is also the late stage of the Ning Yuan realm, but the further realm goes to the back, the bigger the gap is. Besides, senior brother Chi Yong is not the pinnacle of the general master realm. Does he think he can defeat a Yuan? Is the Dan realm strong? ... Whether it is a true disciple or inner disciple, they cannot understand why Suzan possesses such confidence, and dares to challenge Yuntian to be the first in the true legend of the sword sect with the cultivation base as a newcomer. Not only these disciples, but not far from the square, the crowd of elders sitting on the stone platform watching the battle were also puzzled. Qin Jincheng frowned slightly. Although he was very optimistic about Suzan, it was when Qi Yang suppressed Realm. If he did not suppress Realm, Qi Yang's combat power would have reached the Yuan Dan realm. Whether Suzan could win it was really hard to say. Before he could decide whether to stop this disparity in strength, Chen Changfeng couldn't help but fly out. Landing on the square, his first sentence was to Suzan and said, "Suzan, your realm has not yet been completely stabilized. The appointment is too hurried, so let's postpone it." Before Suzan could answer, Qi Yang was already a little anxious. "Chen Elder, this is what junior brother Su promised himself yesterday. How can junior brother Su be so genius? How can he say nothing? Besides, I will seal cultivation base realm. A fair fight with junior brother Su." Suzan glanced at Qi Yang and said indifferently, "I still said that, today you don't need to seal the cultivation base. I know you hate me in your heart. The matter between you and me will be resolved in this battle. You don't need to touch others. Think carefully." "Suzan, you, Chen Elder, if I can say this, I am sure of it naturally." Seeing Suzan's very determined attitude, Chen Changfeng frowned slightly and said helplessly, "Well then, I respect your decision, but Suzan, Qi Yang is the first true biography, not the ordinary late-stage practitioner, be careful." Quote. "Well, I will pay attention." Su beheaded nodded. Chen Changfeng had no choice but to leave. "Brother sect, Suzan has such confidence, is it that he has cultivated that sword technique to the highest point? If so, he will stimulate the divine body, but he has a chance to defeat Qi Yang." Back on the stone platform, Chen Changfeng asked hesitantly. Qin Jincheng shook his head. "I can't tell, but it's mostly like this, otherwise Suzan wouldn't have such confidence. It took 2 days to cultivate Liuhuo's sword technique to reach the peak. This is really, put it on Suzan, it doesn't seem to be so outrageous." Recalling the various heaven-defying places that Suzan revealed after entering the Yuntian sword gate, Chen Changfeng unexpectedly felt that it would not be so unacceptable to take a Liuhuo sword technique from Dacheng cultivation to Peking in 2 days. After all, it was even more outrageous than this, and Suzan had done a lot. For example, when I went out and picked up the star fragment, Liang Mu wanted to worship him as a teacher and so on. In contrast, 2 days to cultivate a sword technique to the top, it is simply the only thing Suzan has done that looks like a normal human. Chen Changfeng slandered in his heart and looked at Suzan expectantly. On the square, Qi Yang and Suzan stood 50 meters apart. "Junior brother Su, I will ask you one last time, do you really don't need me to seal realm?" A sneer appeared at the corner of Qi Yang's mouth. "During the battle, brother, I may not stop, do you understand? Are you talking so much nonsense?" Suzan said calmly. "I said, take out your strongest state, all your whole cards, and fight with me." "Okay, then I will look at you, junior brother Su, what on earth do you have to rely on?" Qi Yang didn't say much. The surging power of the true essence directly inspired the sacred body of the Beijiao. A white dragon emerges, Qi Yang's power is greatly increased. "Junior brother Su, the sword technique I cultivate is white dragon sword technique. Sword Qi transforms the dragon, strangling everything that has been affected. If you can't support it, just call it out, maybe I have time to stop, senior brother." Qi Yang said as if he didn't want to hurt Suzan's life. "Where do you get so much nonsense?" Suzan said coldly. On Qi Yang, he felt a strong killing intent. Obviously he has a murderous intent on himself, but he still has to pretend to be a kind big brother in front of everyone. It is really disgusting. If you don't make a move, don't blame me for not giving you a chance to make a move. While talking, Suzan started to run Yang Yan Junyuan. Hearing this, Qi Yang's killing intent was overwhelming, and he no longer waited. The natal sword conceived in the purple mansion flew out. Holding the sword of life in his hand, Qi Yang's power rose to the apex, and he cut out with a single sword. Beilong's sword technique. In the space, a dragon chant sounded, shaking the entire mountain. Strands of sword qi were intertwined and turned into a house-sized dragon head, exuding an amazing aura, and flew towards Suzan. When the dragon head rushes forward, the sword qi in the rear is constantly intertwined, turning into dragon claws, dragon body, and dragon tail. Behind Qi Yang, the phantom of the holy body Beijiao shone brightly, splitting a phantom into the sword qi white dragon. Suddenly, the white dragon's power rose again. Boom! The whole square trembled. Sword Chi Bailong passed by hurricanes, sweeping the ground of Beishi Square. The broken bricks fly. Thousands of disciples were so excited by this monstrous scene, their eyes widened, for fear of missing any detail. Bai Jiao Saint Body and White Dragon Sword Technique, strong. It is too strong. Before, someone told me that the first brother Qi Yang of our Janman's true biography can fight the Yuandan. I still don't believe it. Today, I believe it. Senior brother Qi Yang is stronger than I thought. I don't know how senior brother Suzan will deal with it. Senior brother Su also has a sword. His sword technique. The disciple only felt that sword ray flashed in front of him, and the mighty white dragon directly shattered and dissipated, and then Qi Yang flew upside down, bombarding a huge stone pillar hundreds of meters away. At this point, he uttered the next two words dumbfounded, so fast. Not only was the inner disciple of the Ningyuan realm stunned, but the true biography also rubbed their eyes, suspecting that there was a problem with their eyes. As practitioners, they naturally see much more clearly than inner disciple. At the same time, my heart is even more horrified. Before Bailong's sword Qi arrived, Suzan had only one sword. With one sword, he cut out a starlight flame sword Qi. Apart from that, sword Qi seemed to be extremely fast. It was not as powerful as Qiang's white dragon sword technique. But when the two touched the moment, the white dragon was like a pile of sand condensed, dissipating invisible at the touch of it. A group of true biography tried to substitute themselves into Qi Yang, but found that they had no other way but to die in the face of that sword Qi. That sword, terrible, too frightening. There is such a terrible swordsmanship in the world. The head Qin Jincheng suddenly stood up from his seat. Suzan's swordsmanship, even he couldn't understand it. Suzan, what kind of sword technique did you use just now? Suzan said, sparkle light swordsmanship. Sparkle swordsmanship. Qin Jincheng thought about it carefully, and was sure that he hadn't even heard the name of this swordsmanship. The other elders also showed puzzled expressions. Sparkle swordsmanship. Didn't Suzan cultivate Liu Huo's sword technique? How did you change this sword technique? These swordsmanship are much stronger than Liu Huo's sword technique, but our swordsman does not seem to have this sword technique, right? No, there is absolutely no such swordsmanship in Yuntian Janman. Even Xia Kingdom, or even the 15 countries in the Tianan area, have never heard of such swordsmanship. Suzan looked at elder who were talking about it, and shook his head. It's normal that you haven't heard of it, because I got the name of this sword technique. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.